Hamburger. Hamburger. Okay, it works. Finally using this tab. Yes. So today we have a cool stream I've been planning for a while now. I wasn't sure if I was gonna do it yet. I was gonna probably wait till next year to do it, but I feel like since I haven't done much content or streaming in general, I might as well do it now. I'll probably make a video out of this as well. I might revisit it in the future, or I might make one for tanks. Generally, I was gonna wait till I do wait before I do all this like aviation, military, like jet, tank, vehicle type content, because I didn't really want to make too many videos or too many streams about that stuff. Kind of wanted to keep it under wraps, so I don't really build like an audience that is specifically for it, because once you go down that rabbit hole as a content creator, you're expected to stay in it. Especially it's like people who do Minecraft or Roblox, you know, like kid-friendly stuff, they're expected to do that kind of content, and it's hard to move out of. And I just don't really want to be known as the guy who does the plane stuff. As much as I love that stuff, I also want to be a variety creator, so I can do whatever, play whatever games I want without being pigeonholed into one type of content. But today, I spent like several hours today making this thing. This tier list has 50 different vehicles, all of which are typically fighters, interceptors. Fighters are usually interceptors. Multi-role fighters are often multi-role, but not always. Multi-role is usually a fighter thing. Same with obviously interceptors, and some trainers that have like weaponry mounted on it. What isn't included is unarmed trainers, or trainers that have to have gun pods to be armed, which is basically guns that are not within the airframe, within the actual frame. They're guns that are mounted underneath the wing, typically. Sometimes the chassis, the airframe, fuselage. I also have not included cargo planes. I didn't include any transport or any strategic bombers, any of that stuff. I kept it basically planes that had guns in the middle, or guns within the airframe itself, within like the wings or the chassis itself, built into them. And aircraft generally created in the 60s and beyond, generation 3, 4, and 5. I didn't include futuristic aircraft prototypes, proposals, concepts. The most or the least produced vehicle here, aircraft here, is the SU-57 right here at the bottom left. That was only like 20-ish, within the 20s made. The only reason why I included it, I think it's the only aircraft here that was built less than 100. The only reason why I included it here is because I included stuff like the F-22 and F-35. And I know they're gonna make at least like a good 80 to 120 of them, and they're iconic enough already. But yeah, I think we can get into it. I have cleared my search history, so I don't have to fucking dox myself. I also had to close some tabs that were doxing myself. Instead of, I didn't really want to migrate to a what's it called? To a private window or anything. Because I didn't really want to mess with whatever I had up. So you can see all my bookmarks. I use quite a lot of these. But generally speaking, I try to keep it as clean as I can. So it's just the tier list and the vehicles we're going to be looking at. We're going to do it in alphabetical order, as you can see here. I cropped all of these and named all of them as to what they are. Most of these aircraft are built within the hundreds, some to the thousands. Most of them have been built in the 70s. Like I would say the majority have been built between 1970 and 2010. So yeah, let's get into it. This is a tier list for looks only. I'm just doing this based on looks. This isn't based on combat effectiveness. This isn't based on anything objective or anything classified or anything theoretical or anything what's it called? I guess theoretical works. This is just based on how good I think they look, and you'll see some of these vehicles. Of course, family is being loud. Okay. You'll see some of these vehicles will have name / other name. That is because I'm including variants of said aircraft underneath. So I guess if you were to be like, I guess a relatable example would be house cat. It would be like a family and then like variants underneath. So like house cat, instead of naming every single type of every single breed of house cat, or I guess dog is an user example, a house, domestic dog, and then you have bulldog, German shepherd, etc., etc. I generally just have the main variant, and then sometimes I'll have a variant that is very commonly known, like the most common variant or most common like successor or predecessor. So in this case, the F1 is the most iconic version. The T2 is a trainer version, but still has a built-in weapon. It has a double cockpit version of the F1. I guess a better example would be here's the Su-27, and then the Su-35. Actually, the best example, really, genuinely, is the MiG-29 and the MiG-35. So the MiG-35 is a modernized version of the MiG-29. Sometimes they're like double cockpit version. Usually MiG-29s are single cockpit, so there's only one person flying it. Instead of listing every single variant, MiG-29K, MiG-29M, this is basically all-encompassing. And then I listed the other more iconic version. Instead of listing every version, I just list the main version and the second most, or the most modern version, typically. Like MiG-25 is the Foxbat everyone knows, and the MiG-31's the Foxhound. I kind of group them together because I don't think they're worth going over every single variant, how they look. And the reason why I'm explaining everything, I'm putting down a groundwork for everything, is just so things are clear, especially if I want to upload the video. But yeah, now it's a lot of ranting, and I'm gonna have to cut out a good amount of that. But I think we're actually ready to go. I think that's like the most important ground rules here. Yep. Yep, that's it. Okay, so the A10, we have the A10 up here. All these images are like basically the first result on Google. Actually, I made sure to specifically choose all the Wikipedia images. The only one I had to go out of my way to find one, like I had to find this one off of Wikipedia, but I had to find this specific version because the early J8 variants are pretty ugly and they're not as advanced either. And they're not worth mentioning. I'd rather go over the later J8 variants, the more produced J8 variants. The early J8 variants weren't really produced that much. But yeah, A10, I think the A10C is the most known variant, but it's basically identical to the A. Now, this tier list is also not based on accomplishments. This isn't based on bias. I don't really have a bias because as much as I like am American, believe it or not, I don't have an extreme bias towards American vehicles. I'm sure there's some level of bias, but generally speaking, I'm not going into this being like, this vehicle, I relate to it because of this. My grandfather uses plane or whatever. I'm not integrating anything other than looks, strictly looks only, because I think it's kind of dumb to be like, oh yeah, based on how much I like it. And it's just, I guess if it was a tier list based on how much I like it, it would be fine. But I think there's just too many factors, and I think it would be more interesting if I was a person who had like a lot of actual experience. If I was a pilot myself, or I knew a lot of people who, if I had more lore to it, to do it based on how much I like vehicle. But generally, to me, what I personally like the most is looks. I don't put as much importance into their service history or their performance or their lore, their history, their design, as in like the design philosophy, the role, all that stuff. It's a lot easier for me to say I just like how it looks, or I don't like how it looks. Now today, I just want to say real quick, most of these will probably be an A or B. A lot of tier lists are like that as well, but I don't think there are many ugly aircraft in this list, at least. So C and D really will be vacant. D is basically going to act like an F tier. I should introduce what all these tiers basically mean for the tier list. D is going to basically act like an F tier. I don't think there really is an F tier for any of these designs, so I think D is fine. Instead of renaming it to F, or instead of renaming these to what I'm going to explain them as, I'd rather keep them AS, A, B, C, D for people who want to use this later on and don't want to have to rename all this stuff. Because I will send this link officially for people to use. Yeah, but for the sake of this video, D is basically F tier, effectively F tier, but not actually F tier. This is vehicles I think are just ugly. I don't think they look good. There might be one or two in this list, period, that will fit into D tier. Maybe 3. But yeah, it's just something that's ugly. It doesn't attract me. It's pretty bad. I wouldn't say I like it at all. C is something that's like underwhelming. It's not quite bad, but it's pretty mediocre. It's kind of meh. I don't really feel anything about it. It's I. B it's pretty decent looking. I quite like how it looks, but it doesn't call out to me as much as the other tiers. It's just decent. It's like a solid 7 out of 10. I would say C is like in that 4 to 5 out of 10. D is in that 2 or 3. I would say 2 or 3 here. And D, 4 or 5 in C, 6 and 7 in B, 8 and 9 in A, and S is just gonna be 10. It's gonna be a 10 out of 10 aircraft to me. But yeah, back to the A10. I think I'm gonna try to go over why I like a vehicle. I can pad this out as much as I want to, and then just edit it down later. Maybe I'll do a I might do an actual voiceover in the video, like an introductory piece where I go over the stuff I just went over in a more concise manner. But at least for the stream and the VOD viewers, I will keep what I just said leading up to this. But yeah, basically how much I like the things on the aircraft. And I would try to keep, generally speaking, because I'm surrounded by certain aircraft more in media. Most people are viewing a lot of American, Russian, sometimes European aircraft a lot. Some people see them so often to the point where it's their bias and they really like it. And then some people see it way too often, and it's like grown off of them. I'm gonna try to keep that mostly out of it, but uh, it will inevitably come through more than different kinds of biases. Another interruption. Good lord. Uh, okay, so I quite like this aircraft. I don't think I would put it super high though. I know the A10 Warthog is super iconic, ultra iconic. But visually to me, it's a good looking aircraft, but I wouldn't say it's gorgeous exactly. I think really the thing that hampers it the most visually speaking, and really the only thing that looks that I don't really like, but I don't dislike. I don't dislike it. I'm not really a fan of where the engines are placed, or at least the fact that they stick out so much. The turbofan jet engines do stick out quite a bit, and they're in a weird spot. It's not very conventional. I tend to like conventional designs as long as it's not too conventional to where it's boring, like the F-15, which I'll go on to later. I'm not really a fan of straight wing aircraft. Generally speaking, I like swept or more unique design. I find straight wing to be more of a World War II. Looks great on World War II props and certain jets. Generally speaking, it's not my favorite. I think it does complement the A10 well, though. I do think the engines also complement it well, just because it is very unconventional overall. It's straight like fan fiction looking almost. If you were to show people this 50 years ago, 60, 70 plus years ago. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, but it does look pretty cool. It has that World War II like Halifax like split tail bomber tail look to it, which I actually do really like. It has nice big wheel wells. It has some really nice looking pylons. I think the pylons make the straight wings look much better, and so they'll do the wheel wells. So given the fact that I'm not really a fan of the wings or the engines, I think the rest of the aircraft work really well around it to where it's not as offensive or unappealing. The gun looks cool. I always love how the A10s. I'm going to try to keep libraries out of it for the most part, but obviously that is also going to inevitably affect things. But generally speaking, they like to have these big teeth decals on it. I think it makes it look pretty cool. It fits well with the gun. The gun itself is awesome. But obviously I'm just trying to do this based off of looks, but the gun goes without saying, sounds pretty cool. If you play like Insurgency and whatnot, even I think DCS has a decent sound. War Thunder not so much decent depending on how you listen to it in the game, and it's been changed around a lot, so it'll probably sound different by the time this video comes out. I would say it would be a B tier. All that being said, I would say it's a B tier visually. And only visually. If it was like any more than that, I'd put it in like an A tier. But this isn't about how iconic or how powerful a vehicle or effective a vehicle is. Yeah. The A6 Intruder. I've kind of mixed about it. I feel very similarly with how I do on the A10. It's a weird looking aircraft that seems conventional until you see the whole side. It's also equally as massive, if not more imposing. It's really bizarre looking. I'm not really a fan of the tail sometimes. Sometimes the tail, especially in this one, looks a little weird. The cockpit's really dorky. The intakes and the nose is big. I'm not really a fan of it. It tries to look like a conventional aircraft and a trainer at the same time, but I don't dislike it. But yeah, it's all right. I really like it when it does have the wings clipped like this, when it's like stored on a carrier. I do think I think adds quite a bit to the carrier aesthetic. But honestly, I think I'm gonna have to give it I'm definitely gonna have to give it a C tier. It's not ugly. I have a feeling that A7 is gonna be the same way. Uh Only because I already kind of know what I feel about the A7. It's kind of in the same boat. It looks like an F8, but in attacker mode as a strike version. I think I do like it more than the F8. It's very beefy looking. Looks cool on a carrier. I will say on the tier list, the more left it is, the higher it is on C tier. The more right it is, the lower it is on C tier. If it's high C tier, it's going to be right below B tier. If it's low C tier, it's going to be right above D tier, for example. This, I'm going to say, is above the A6. I like it more than A6. It does look pretty badass. The intake's a bit absurd, and the nose area looks a little goofy. The rest of the aircraft looks pretty damn good. And I do think the nose and intake do complement each other pretty well. I would say the A10 is probably low on B tier. So A10 and A7, yeah, in this kind of order, I definitely agree on. Now the Alpha Jet, yes, it's a trainer, but it is armed. They typically often have, at least when they're not in trainer configuration, they'll have a gun underneath. Now I know I said gun pods, but I feel like the no gun pods, but I feel like the gun pods on these only fits really well enough to include it. I also wanted to get to 50 aircraft, and this is what I end up with. Again, I could revisit this later, but I think the Dornier Alpha Jet, now there's two versions commonly known. Now here's War Thunder. There's the version, well, I shouldn't say version, but like type. There's a French type that has a more rounded nose and a German type that has a more piked nose and I think even sleeker cockpit. I feel pretty mixed about them, or I feel pretty like good about both variants. I don't really mind either variant. I think I do prefer the French one a little bit more though. It's a little better rounded. I'm gonna have to give this I would say a low A tier. It's very sleek. I'm honestly a fan of trainers, but I didn't want this to be, this whole list to be a bunch of trainers because there's so many. So I think only included like 6 or 7 trainers, because they all had guns or they all had like a good amount of. Another reason why I have the Alpha Jet is they have a fair amount of actual combat influence. Yeah, France. They're also iconic, as the title says. It just doesn't do anything offensively. There's nothing it does wrong. It's pretty decently attractive, honestly. Now the Harrier is crazy. Because there's I swear. Because there's the Harrier is pretty crazy because there's a ton of different variants. Like a lot of different variants. They all look very different on the nose area, especially. Sometimes the cockpit itself changes or the wings will change a little bit. Generally the tail will stay the same. The wings don't change that much. It's really just the leading edges on the front. They'll change a lot. I think I'm gonna use the Aviate B Plus version. It's the most iconic and most commonly used. It's been used in movies and whatnot. There's British and American Harriers. I feel like the American Harriers tend to look better, but the British ones aren't too bad either. Honestly, very bizarre looking aircraft. Since it is a VTOL, it does take off vertically. It looks very unconventional. Kind of badass though, but still pretty goofy. It's hard to place it exactly. I would say it's just above the A10 and B tier. Yeah, not much more to say about it. The wings are stubby, I guess. Like I said, the nose changes a lot, but it has the thing I really like that F4 has, which we'll get to. It has the tail that goes down. It's a, I don't know how to describe it, but kind of like the S16 as well. The tail goes down as well as up. So there's 3 points to it. I think that looks really cool. The intakes are a little bit too big, but I do think the intakes are pretty cool in their own right, other than being too big. Intakes is where the air comes in, so it can feel the engine. And this thing needs big intakes because it has a huge engine with a lot of power. Those look pretty battle hardened, so yeah, I think B2 is pretty fair. Now, one of my favorite trainers is the AMX International. This is a primarily Italian trainer, used by Brazil as well and a couple other nations. This, depending on the variant, has a one big 20 mil Gatling gun or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it'll have 2 smaller cannons on the nose. I don't think it changes enough though to make it like to affect. I think it looks good in both configurations. This thing kind of gives off at a glance miniature F-18 vibes. Like if the F-18 had one engine and was much smaller and had no leading edges. Looks quite a bit different than F-18, but it looks vaguely like it. I think this is one of the most attractive. This is above the Alpha Jet for me. One of the most attractive trainers. It would be pretty close to S tier. If there was an S tier trainer, this might be it. Almost always shipped with a gun as far as I'm concerned. The F1. F1 Mitsubishi. Gorgeous camouflages. Obviously, I don't want to do camouflages or liveries too much. Like, I don't want it to affect my opinion too much, but it's gorgeous. And you might be thinking the one cockpit looks a little weird. Looks kind of like how the flankers or a MiG-21 SMT has like the fuel back here and looks much bigger. But wait, that's not Kawasaki is the T4. That's what tripped me up. Mitsubishi T2. It's the double cockpit version, which looks even better. Also has the downward tail that I talked about on the S16, Harrier, and the F4. It's a high wing aircraft. It looks really good for a high wing. Also looks kind of like a Jaguar, which we'll get to later. I think it looks better than a Jaguar, but I do like certain things on Jaguar a little more. Gorgeous. I would say that has to be an A tier. I don't know where exactly. I think you would go above the Alpha Jet just a little, but not quite the MX. Now the F1 is an actual fighter jet. The T2 is a trainer. Sorry, yeah. T is usually used for trainers. I had to brain fart. I can't really. It's really long, just like this aircraft. Yeah, there's a lot of things about the F1 that I quite like. I do like the T2 much more though. I think the double cockpit fits much better. Now this thing also has a double cockpit version, F104, but I think that's mostly used by Japan. Now this is one of the aircraft that started off as a Generation 2, but with the F104S specifically became a Generation 3 because it got a lot of modernizations and upgrades. You'll see that some of the aircraft on this list are Generation 2, but have, for early variants, but have Generation 3 slapped on it for later variants because they were upgraded and modernized through it. There's probably like 3 or 4 aircraft on this list that are like that. But yeah, my cutoff is, I'm doing Gen 3, 3, 4, and 5. So anything below Gen 3 or above Gen 5 is not included. Gen 6 isn't even being made right now, really. Not realistically produced at all, honestly. It's not going to be for a while. Gen 5 I decided to include because there are some actual things that have been actually around for a while, like the 22. The F104S, though, I do quite like it. There's something nice about it. It's really stubby, though, really long, kind of goofy. I have a personal bias towards it. It also sounds really amazing, but I think realistically, based off looks alone, it's it's got to be like B tier. I don't know where it would be with the hair. Probably between the Harrier and the Warthog. That's depending on certain variants will get to B tier. Some variants are like less interesting. Might go lower on B tier. But I think like the average F104 looks pretty good. Although I guess a lot of the F104s look pretty similar. Just sometimes they have like a double cockpit, or they have fuel tanks on the edge, or fuel tanks on it, period. And that can help it look better. Okay, Discord was okay. Yeah, it's you can definitely tell it's meant to go fast, but not much else to say about it, really. I'm gonna try to speed through these a little bit. The F111 Aardvark, so the wings can sweep backwards, so it's not always forward. Sometimes it's backwards like here. Sometimes it's forwards out to the side like this. I think it looks pretty cool. It looks really mean. I have a bias towards variable swept wings that can move like that. Very iconic, of course. That's why it's on this list. It has a gun and shit. Really nice, honestly. This might have to be an A tier. Low on A tier, but still an A tier. It's just mean looking. It looks also really cool from behind. Now this is it dumping fuel, so that's why you see that. It's not a flamethrower or a distraction or anything crazy. Yeah, it just looks awesome. And it does get some really cool liveries. Cockpits to the side, it does it really well to where the cockpits are on the side, but it's, you know, not awkward looking like the A6 I showed earlier. So yeah, F14, I think this might have to be our first S tier. Now the F14 I have interesting lore about. I used to not like it. It used to be my least favorite American aircraft. I didn't dislike it, I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like the tail at the very end. That little I keep forgetting what it is. Like, I know what it is, but I keep forgetting what it is. I think it's for refueling or something. Aircraft will usually have for refueling. Sometimes they'll have different things on it though. The thing on the end, you'll see on the flanker series, but it's a variable swept wing. I've learned to be able to ignore it pretty easily. It's really not that noticeable, honestly. But yeah, I used to not really like that part. Now though, I feel like it's the most unique looking American aircraft. Because in a way it's been stolen the least out of like things like the F-16. You'll see the F-16's DNA in a lot of different Chinese, some Israeli aircraft as well. And you'll see the same with like the Typhoon will have a lot of its DNA in a lot of things. A lot of things will look similar to the Eurofighter Typhoon or the Rafale, which kind of influenced each other as well, ironically. This has to be an S tier. I probably won't put it high on S tier. I do have some other things that would go higher that I already have in mind. This would have to be an S tier aircraft though. It's huge. It's by wingspan, it's the largest fighter on this list, not including like this strike bomber, this F111. That has, I think, even wider wingspan, I believe. It's a couple of these have a slightly wider wingspan, I believe, depending. Maybe not. It's either the first, second, or third widest wingspans. It's absolutely huge. It's long. It's also one of the heaviest. But it's just a statement piece. Looks gorgeous on a carrier. Um, Double cockpit is integrated really nicely. Honestly, yeah, I think it's definitely an S tier. F-15 is something I brought up earlier, where I've seen it so much that it used to be my favorite American aircraft, and now it's my probably least favorite. Out of like the big four, big five, the iconic jet fighters for America, modern jet fighters. So basically, the F-14 and F-15 kind of switch place. But with that being said, I think it's still an A tier. It's still really nice. It still has some F-14 DNA. See, especially up in the front. The engines are closer together. It might be left of the VARC or right of it. I think it might be left of it. There's gonna be, like I said, there's gonna be a lot in A tier and B tier. It's still really nice. It gets some boring liveries, some boring camouflages. It doesn't get many camouflages for the American versions. They're almost always gray. You will get, and this is a demonstrator, looks goofy. You will get, that one's ugly. Ugh, I don't know. Looks just too much going on there. Some like Japanese, and I think, yeah, Japanese and Israeli camouflages that make it look so much better. Obviously, like I said, try not to make libraries change things too much, but I think the F-14 really gets hampered by its lack of libraries for the American ones, but it looks so much better when you add like a nice desert camo or bicolor or tricolor that Japan has. I mean, let's literally just add a J and you'll see the difference. I don't really like this camo. I know it's very iconic for people, but it's like, it just doesn't look like it's meant for combat. It's very obvious. It's just there for looks. This is worked on a camo. Also in DCS, so it's not just. I think it's a marketplace for War Thunder. So it's not in the base game, but even then, like yeah, that looks cool. DCS has a lot of great camos implemented from Japan. Even then, it's like whiter color. This especially it's much better than just the boring, lazy gray that the Americans use on everything. Looks so much better. Yeah, it's definitely above the F-111. But yeah, it's just like the jet. That's the fighter jet. It's the F-15, even more so than F-16, which we're about to get into. Now, I like the F-16. I know some of my friends think it's kind of generic, just like the F-15. But especially depending on the variants, there is the F2, which is Japanese. And then, yeah, the wings go down a little. The tail elevators. Yeah, there's a lot of cool variants going on here. I like the F2 a lot. I'm going to group it within the F-16, though. I probably should have put it under the thingy. Do like F-16/F2. God, it looks so good. Nice camo livery. There's something that the F-16 gets a lot of. We're probably going to see on the front page, most likely. Oh yeah, this nice camo. It's also really nice. It does get some nice camos. And there's F-18 back there. I can't see it right now, honestly. Kind of surprising. It'll inevitably come up later. I'll talk about it probably. I'll just say briefly. It does get some tiger meat camos. I could just look up tiger meat. Which I honestly don't really like tiger meat. A lot of them look really tacky. Like they look cool at first and then you look closer and you're just like, oh, it looks dumb. This one's nice. But yeah, that one's nice as well. Yeah, just too much going on here. That looks a little weird. It's like trying to show through its regular camo. Like it's being taken over. Some of them are nice. I think the S16 has some decent ones. There's a lot of tiger meat camos because tiger meat is like an annual thing. I do not like them, generally speaking. There's way more miss than hits. But yeah, I think it's got to be above the F15. Now I look at the Alpha Jet. Yeah, that might be more fair. Yeah, I'll do that. That looks more appropriate to me. Yeah. Oh, we can already go to the F18. Yeah, I do like the intake. I should talk a little bit more about the actual darn thing. Intake is pretty cool. It's not too in the way. It's kind of like how the P-51 Mustang's intake is. It's not. It kind of sits close enough to the fuselage, although not that close realistically. But it doesn't look like it's that separate. I don't really like the conformal tanks. I think they look ugly. I have friends that like the extra fuel tanks. They're weird. It really fucks with the whole sleek design. It's like the entire thing that makes the S16 stand out is that it is sleek to the absolute maximum and super small. And they just add a bunch of fucking. This is hideous, like absolutely hideous. There are some things that have added fuel tanks, like the 15 EX. I mean, any of the F-15Es or the F-15C with a certain fuel package. They have inline fuel. Just maybe doesn't sell it that well, but they will have like nice fuel tanks that will be conformed within the fuselage. Not that they look nice, but then there's some aircraft that will have conformed additional fuel tanks that just look hideous. Yeah, you can see this is added on to it because it doesn't sit within the intakes. Yeah. Anyways, F-18. You know, I'm gonna group the Hornet and the Super Hornet, aka the early variant and the later modernized variant. Group those together because I think they're close enough. At first, I used to like the Super Hornet more than the regular Hornet, but they're kind of equal to me now. They're like pretty even. I think this is one of the nicer looking American aircraft. It's definitely nicer than the S16 by a little, but marginally. Like it's not much better. I think I like the Amex a little more though. I think it's cuter, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I might put the Amex in between them. F18 and F16 kind of have a lot of. There's a few aircraft that look like them combined, and the Amex is one of them. And one of them down here will look kind of like an F16 and F18 combined very loosely. I believe it's the F-CK1, wherever that is, right here, which we'll get to soon. It's very nice looking. Looks great on a carrier, much like the F-18. They're everywhere. I think I like it more than F-16 generally. It's less conventional than F-16 in some ways. I love how the tails are split outwards like that. It has its own identity. The S16 does as well. I just love how it looks underneath. It looks so good. The Super Hornet and regular Hornet do different things for me while still filling similar aesthetics. Yeah. Not much else to say. Yeah, much like American aircraft, it doesn't get that many unique camos. But because it's naval, they tend to get a little bit more variety. Also, being a Blue Angel, I think Blue Angel has a better livery than Thunderbirds by a long shot. Yeah, it's a very high tier. F-22, gives a bit of the F-15 vibe, where it's just like, that's the stealth jet. Mostly because it's been the only stealth jet for a while, and the only one that's been produced and like in media until the F-35 came around. And then from the F-35 came the SU-57 and the J-20. It looks really cool with the cockpit being golden. It does look really good, but it's also like a little bit too conventional. There's the A-10, which is a bit too unconventional, and then there's the F-22 and the F-15 are like too conventional. This is like, if you look up stealth jets, this is what you get. It kind of becomes a little boring, and a lot of other jets derive from this, like the Korean Boromai and the Turkish Khan, and technically the Chinese Falcon. They all look quite similar to the F-22. And I try to, do it based off of looks and not be affected by other things. But it's hard not to notice that stuff. And also, it's because it's stealth, it is strictly this color. It's always gray. There might be very slight variations. Maybe have a little bit more white around the edges. Maybe it'll be a darker one or a lighter color. A little bit more white to it. I think there are... Yeah. I still really like it, though. Like, it is beautiful. But, yeah, I think it will have to go above the F-22. And like I said, I'm not biased towards Americans. I just think the American aircraft do hit more often than not. They're pretty good. They're just... Often people will rank them lower because they want to be controversial. They want to be contrarian. And I think I'm contrarian by nature. Like, that's just how I am. But even I had to agree that these are nice. I think I'm contrarian to the point of being like completely illogical. But usually if there's enough things telling me to like something, I'm generally like cynical about it. So it takes me a while to come around to something like the F-14 example. But yeah, there are people who, maybe they see the F-15 all the time in media, just like I do. Just like, okay, I'm getting bored of it. Or maybe they serve on an Air Force base and they see F-18, or they see F-15s all the time, or they're on a carrier, they see F-18s all the time, just get tired of them. That does happen. F-35, I think people shit on the F-35, not just combat-wise, because they literally don't know. They just don't know about how the modern philosophy in fighting is way different than it used to be. And they also don't know how it performs. They just assume it's bad because it looks heavier or whatever, because it has one engine. People just make up stuff to hate on it all the time. I'm not a ass kisser for it. I think visually it's not nearly as bad as people say it is. There's different variants to it as well. F-22 and F-35. I just think the F-22 and F-35 complements each other so well within our arsenal, visually and actual performance. And it's literally the F-15 and F-16 all over again. And I don't mind that. There's variants. I don't really like the B variant, which is the VTOL variant that goes on carriers, because it looks really fat. You see up here, this is where the extra turbofans are, so it can take off vertically, so it's not just the back engine taking it off the ground. I don't really like that one. The F-35A and C, much like the Hornet and Super Hornet, they fulfill different things to me. I like both equally as much for different things. I like the F-35A more in the way that it's a lot more adorable. It's like a little guy. And the F-35C looks a little bit more intimidating. I think I like the A little bit more, just like how I like the Hornet a little bit more than Super Hornet, but it tends to change back and forth. And a lot of these aircraft, especially the American ones, have changed ratings for me over the years. Oh wow, I think I'm already up to an hour. I'm gonna try to keep this stream under 3 hours. Generally try to aim for the 2 to 4 hour mark. Yeah, I think it looks actually pretty good. I also like how it looks from below. Looks maybe a little weird from in front, but because it bows out like that, but I don't know, I like it. Strongest engine on any single engine military aircraft. Looks a little goofy from some angles, cooler from others. I think this is the B version. Yeah, it looks a little bit chunky. That's why it looks a little odd. Crazy looking. Not quite F-22. And as much as I, sing its praise about the F-35 in a way, I also like. It's obviously not like. I still prefer the F-22. Yeah, F-22 is just a murder beast. The F4 Hornet Phantom, I think it's one of the first aircraft that looked like a Gen 4, even though it's not a Gen 4. It incorporated the most Gen 4 design choices. Like, the tail I said with the S16. Obviously you see it in the Harriers, which is Gen 3. Although there are Gen 4 Harriers, I believe, technically. Like the later Harriers are freaking insane. They're pretty damn advanced for what they are because they just modernize the crap out of them. The earliest F4s are Gen 2. Double cockpit though looks great. The gun in the nose. Used by multiple nations. German camos look good on it. American camos, Vietnam War especially looks good on it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give that a fucking A tier. Oh, definitely above the F11. I might have to put it. Oh, I think I like it more than F15. Yeah. Now we're gonna get to some low tier stuff. Low rank stuff. Oh yeah, now the F4 looks really beefy and badass, and it's obviously like multi-role and stuff. It looks exactly how you'd expect it to be used. Fighting, intercepting, striking, ground units, and all that. Now this is something I said looked kind of like an F-18 meets an F-16. Definitely more F-18 in it. I think it's the worst of the both. Then it has a little bit of Rafale DNA where the intakes are rounded like an F-18s or Rafales, I believe as well. But the fuselage bends around it. You can see it definitely up here in front. We'll show the Rafale later. Yeah, the intakes bend into, it makes the fuselage bend into itself. This thing could look good, but it tries to be two different things and it fails at both. I'm gonna have to give it still like B tier. Damn, hard to say. There's quite a bit of things it does right, but man, it's kind of spacey, a little spacecrafty right there. It's just bizarre. I'm gonna have to give it C. I believe another. Well, that was Korean, wasn't it? I forget. Taiwanese. I don't usually look at these. This is definitely Korean. This is a really nice looking trainer. Kind of give off F-18, Dornier Alpha Jet. Bunch of different trainer vibes. I don't know why the AMX is that high. That's a bit actually absurd in retrospect. Oh, so hard. Yeah, of course, this list is not finalized. My views of things change quite a bit, but this is a pretty goddamn gorgeous looking. I do like the T2. I'm gonna put it down though. I think the FA50 does some of the Alpha Jet stuff better. FA50. Damn, it's hard to say. I think I like it more than F16 by a little. See, it does look gorgeous. Just give, yeah, that even more than the AMX International gives off a little bit of both. This cockpit by here is a bit big though. It gives off a bit of Yak 30. Cockpit's a little weirdly shaped. I've always been a fan of light strike aircraft. The cockpit does lower it down a little. It's a little warped, oddly. It sticks out a bit too much. Yeah, because the AMX does it better for sure. Like if the AMX had leading edges and the intakes were a little lower, man, I don't know. I need to lower it a little more though. But I don't have the S16 that high at the same time. Ooh, hard to say. Yeah, I think that's a little bit more fair. Like as much as I love the AMX, it is my favorite trainer. Putting it over the F22 or F16. I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, I don't think I can do that. Let's just go on. Again, I can always change this in the future if I do another stream on this in the future when I'm actually better at doing commentary. Live commentary especially. Yeah, this thing has great cameras. One of my favorite looking delta wing canard type vehicles. So canards are in the front, delta wings are the shape of the wings in the back, but canards are really anything that's in the front. Okay. Yeah. Intakes are a little bit too small, I guess. My friend did point that out, and now that he's pointed out, I guess it does. Wish it raised up a little higher, but yeah, I guess it makes sense. The engine's a bit too small. The tail sticks out quite a bit. Like I really like it, but there's a lot of things it doesn't do right. All little things it doesn't do right, though. Keep in mind. I feel like that 22 more than F16 actually. Yeah, Griffin does look pretty cool. F22 just looks so cool. Yeah, I'll definitely put that F22 above it. The F22 just looks better than F15. The F15's like upper tail, the elevators, the rudders are slanted out a little bit more, like a tiny bit. Doesn't have to be much. Maybe the elevators as well slant a little. Go higher. Yeah, Grippen's pretty freaking nice. No, I chose the Hawk. Person complaining about the same thing for the billionth time. It's really getting old. That's why I'm trying to move out. I just don't want to pick up on the mic. Because it's just constantly like, blah, blah, blah. No one's doing this. And I have to deal with this every day. And I'm like, please, you talk about this all the time. I'm trying to stream. This is why I want to move out so bad. So I can stream more. These walls are thin, bro. Okay, maybe I can talk now. Jesus Christ. I can't live here much longer, man. It's part of why I haven't been streaming much. Yeah, I was looking at this thing. It just I didn't include it because it has like service time, and I think they've mounted guns before. I didn't look too much. I was kind of in a rush trying to get stuff. Yeah, 30 mil. It is in a gun pod though. But a ton of them have been built. Very iconic. Been used a lot. A lot of lore. Thought people would be interested in where I rank it. I don't think it does quite as good as the Alpha Jet or the really any of the trainers we have here. Not only is it like kind of generic, but it looks a little weird, especially this version. But I don't want to go off that version specifically. It's just not as interesting. The wings are super low and it looks a little, it sticks out so much. And the wings are tiny as well. I think it does a bunch of small things wrong, but not to the point where it's like excusable like the Gripen. Because the Gripen at least tries to be unique, especially for time. Not like I'm obviously crapping on a lot. I don't think it's that bad, but that would definitely be a B tier. Yeah. I still think the hair looks cooler. The Hawk is definitely sleeker. J10. Another aircraft that has some F-16 lineage, bit of Gripen, bit of Viggen, bit of this, bit of that. A bunch of design philosophies put into it. It's grown on me a little bit over time, and especially this version has a nicer fuselage. It doesn't eat out as much as this version, which I think this might actually be a later version. This is like the A and this is like the C variant or something like that. This is like early version. Yeah, this is a double cockpit as well, and this is a single cockpit. Actually, I think I prefer the single cockpit. It's hard to say. I think this is just like the Typhoon. It does a lot. Eurofire Typhoon does a lot of things right, but then there's enough that it does wrong. But they're like, instead of a bunch of small things that it does wrong, it's like a couple big things it does wrong. I don't like how it leads up like that. It looks fucking weird. It fails. It does everything the S16 wants to do, but wrong, and everything the but it's cool in its own way because it's one of the longer canard planes. In certain angles, it looks pretty badass, but others it doesn't. Others not so much. It's gonna have to be a B tier, but low B tier, maybe. I think it has better identity than SCK1. It's hard to say though. Yeah, it really looks cool from that kind of angle, but from the front, hard to say. Like the entire back of it and the canards are right, but it's just that front part. Man, yeah, it gives off a little bit of a Mirage 2000 vibe from behind. I like that it, even though it steals a bunch of different design philosophies, it still definitely has its own unique vibe to it. It doesn't look as conflicted as the FCK1, F-CK1, or even the, oh, I guess we'll get to that later. Yeah. Oh, that's cool, though. It doesn't seem to go up as high, but yeah, a little bulge in the intake doing that. It's kind of weird, but it is properly integrated within the frame. Intake at least does build into the frame, sort of hawks out like that, like separates like a double decker. God, I think low B tier is good. Ooh, J20 is a great topic. So the J20, I didn't like at first. I really didn't like it. It was my least favorite stealth aircraft for a while. And I still don't really like the A version, the A variant, but the B variant and the whatever the other fucking variant is, I think it's N S. Okay, these are these are the variants that I think saves it entirely. So the B variant has the spine back here is a little bit more developed. It feels like the intake, it feels like the nose isn't just slapped on. Like this thing, it goes from huge freaking aircraft and giant intake stuff, and then it has this tiny little thing here, which you could say like the F-16 or F-35 and F-22 have a bit of that going on. Although F-22 is actually nicely conformed in a cockpit, whereas the F-35 does that thing where it juts out like these do. I think that jet out thing kind of conflicts, but the B variant kind of enlarges the spine and it makes the nose a little bit thicker, I believe, or at least it makes it less awkward. Yeah, you see that? It just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like this little gemstone out of nowhere. It doesn't have much leading up to it. The B variant, yeah, slightly raised cockpit. Okay, yeah, raised. The spine is a little longer. Yeah, reshaped nose cone, modified intakes. J20B definitely is nicer. And I think the J20S is a double cockpit, which does everything right. I think this might be the B version. Looks a little bit more. Yeah, it looks like a B version. J20B. I wonder if I can see it on here. Oh my god, where is it? Okay. Air show. This might be the B version too. How's the hard to say though. Let's see if I can A. Yeah, Twin Seat version S. It was named B at first. I think the B might have been like a thing they did. Like it was just a prototype. But then they decided to go with the double cockpit instead or something. I don't know. There's a lot of classified stuff going on there. I wish I could show you the B version a little better. This might be it. Well, not literally it, but I mean, raise low. Actually, this is the B. Yeah, this is the S version, which looks so fucking good. God. Yeah, that looks so good. That automatically moves it up. This might be the B variant, actually. Yeah, the intakes don't. That's awkward, I don't think. Really hard to say. Yes, this is the perfect. This is exactly what I was talking about. So this looks like it just juts out with the A version. I really don't like that. It doesn't look as sleek. It makes the nose area, it doesn't sit well into the rest of the fuselage. But then, and here's another good version. Here's the A version, and here's the S version. Double cockpit version. Yeah, those completely fix it for me. Yeah, it just looks so much better, man. It might be specifically like that my favorite stealth. It's so gorgeous. It has so much identity too, more than any other stealth vehicle. Up there with the SU-57. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, SU-57 is also pretty distinct. But yeah, a lot of the other stealth aircraft, Gen 5, Gen 6 even, but especially Gen 5, do a lot of inspiration from the F-22 and F-35. They're just seeing what America does and trying to reproduce it and tweak it for their own needs, which is understandable. Like, let us do all the hard work and steal our designs. Like, I applaud you, because work smarter, not harder. Yeah, J-20, goddamn slaps. It would have been put like in B tier originally. And notice how there's no stealth aircraft in B tier. I know there's a lot of people who are like, I don't like stealth. Stealth is annoying. It looks all bland and boring. But honestly, like, once you get used to it and you really try to like it, it is easy to like. It's easy to like. I think it's just a lot of stealth. Like, stealth just kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of people, and they're just comfortable with the more conventional designs. And sure, a lot of the stealth stuff just looks like geometry class, and it's a lot of like, yeah. But once you get like really into it, once you start seeing the aircraft fly, you start seeing them do things, and they start making history, it's a lot easier to accept them. Now the J8. Now this is what I was saying earlier. So the J8 is, this is the early version, which is pretty ugly, honestly, especially from this angle. Not nice. I do not like it, but I didn't want to put it on here because it's just the J8 and I think the J8A version that have that. J8B and onwards all have, oh yeah, here's that, all have this kind of look to it, which is the one I'm going to be ranking because it's a lot more of a Gen 3. The early J8s kind of have that early Gen 3. Like, I don't really didn't really feel like including it, especially since it wasn't really built that many times. In the later J versions, yeah, it looks a lot nicer, more identity to it, less diabetic. It's not a diabetic doubled up MiG-21. It's two MiG-21s put together, just enlarged and really long. Kind of gives off that T2 JH7 F104, not really, but that kind of vibe where it's just really long. Yeah, here we go. Look at that. This is, I actually quite like it. One of my friends doesn't really like it because I think it looks a little too long. It looks a little goofy. And he's not really a fan of the wings being really stubby. But I actually quite like it. Probably low A. Yeah, low A, lowest A. Makes sense. So there's a Supercat Jaguar. Which I mentioned earlier with the T2 or the Mitsubishi F1 as well. I think those look better, but this thing still has a lot of identity going on. The doubled up gear looks really beefy. This thing, much like Russian aircraft, was just meant to be able to take off anywhere, much like the Viggen, be able to land anywhere. Just kind of heavy duty. The ATV, the four-wheeler of aircraft, all terrain. Sometimes things happen. Hard to, not the easiest thing to land, but it could land everywhere. You definitely need training, because otherwise, if you try to turn too hard, you can easily end up like that. I quite like it. There's the Jaguar E version that has a double cockpit. So much like how the T2 versus the F1, it just looks better double cockpit. I'm gonna go off the double cockpit version because I like that more. Pretty much trying to give aircraft the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the looks. So that's why you have the going off the J10 version I like the most. I'm going off the J8 version I like the most. Going off the F1 version I like the most, the trainer version. Jaguar's really nice. I quite like it. I might put it actually above the Vark. Not much else to say because I feel like I said enough about the T2. The intakes aren't as nice as the T2s. They're very blocky, look a little weird. High wing, another one, the high wing aircraft I like. The tail goes down. It's the same. I do like the all-terrain vibe. It looks clearly like it's meant to just go where it wants to, just like how it actually was used. You'll notice a lot of aircraft look like what they're supposed to do and do like what they're supposed to look, because they're obviously designed to do it. But yeah, they kind of have their own personality like that. JF-17 is basically when they had the J7, which we'll talk about later with the MiG-21 stuff. And the MiG-21, obviously the J8. The J7 left the J8, but they also tried to modernize the J7 a bunch, and eventually they came to a conclusion because with Pakistan, or Pakistan came to a conclusion with them after having some J7s purchased, that they wanted to do their own thing. So they wanted to make a joint fighter, which is what JF stands for. They wanted to work together to make something to fit Pakistan's need. Pakistan also used A5s, Q5s, which is known as the A5 under Pakistan use. So you'll see it kind of looks like it's another aircraft that looks kind of like an F-16 or an F-18 or a little bit of that kind of vibe, but also looks a little bit like a Mirage. And probably wondering how does this come from the MiG-21, because it doesn't really look much like the I think the only real obvious part is the spine on it. Everything else looks like an F-16. Maybe kind of like an F-18 because the frill, the leading edge is a lot bigger than the F-16. Kind of like an F2, really. F2 version, which has bigger frills. It's grown on me, seeing it being added to War Thunder soon. I think I quite like it more. Back then, I don't think I would have rated it as high. It's kind of not as boring. Seeing it in War Thunder has helped me appreciate it. And you'll see like some of these aircraft will get added to War Thunder by the time I do another tier list or revisit this. And I will probably end up rating them higher because I'll see them in War Thunder and get a better appreciation from different angles. This would have to be definitely above the J10. I'll say high B tier. I'm going to move the J8 down. I'm going to give this the highest B tier I can, actually. I might actually be able to put the Jaguar down to B. Yeah. I guess the Vark is, yeah. Vark is like the definition of low A to me. JH7 looks gorgeous. I really like it. It looks like a Jaguar, but even better. I don't think I quite like it as much as the F1, or sorry, T2 specifically. I like it more than F1 because of the cockpit. But I think a T2 I like a little bit more. It's in War Thunder. I appreciate it more. It looks kind of like a Jaguar and a J8 combined. And I think it looks better than both of them combined. So I'm going to put it where the Jaguar was. Yeah, I think that's fair, honestly. Not much else to say about it. It's deceivingly big. Like, this thing's way bigger than it looks. And even if you think it's big, it's even bigger than what you probably think it looks. And maybe the Natus doesn't do it justice, but this is is actually a very flat on like aperture or whatever. I forgot the camera terminology, but this guy is actually very far from this. Like, not like very, very far, but he's like a good, what, 50 meters away from it. Everything looks flat. Like this guy, these guys don't look that far behind this. This guy looks, all three of these guys looked around the same height. Like they would be around the same, same distance, but they're all like different heights. But no, they're all like, these guys are clearly way behind its shadow, like a good amount. They're probably another, like, there's probably 50 meters separating between this guy in the front and this guy in the back, if not more. It's hard to tell. Actually, way bigger. This guy's actually a much better comparison to where the aircraft is. This guys might not be that far behind, but this guy's definitely much further in front. Yeah. Yes, this is a better example. Seeing them on the actual aircraft. Yeah, it's huge. And I think it looks pretty cool that way. So there's a Kafir, or also the Cheetah. The Cheetah is basically a South African Kafir variant. I'm sure there's some, it's obviously not one-to-one, but I do quite like it. The nose is a bit long, but it's pretty easy to excuse. I don't think it's much too long. It's only like slightly too long, especially on this version. The versions where they have like radars and shit look weird, but the best version of this plane, it's not really that long. So it's not really that much longer than I would want it to be. Just a little bit. I think the Mirage 3 does better, but yeah. Fear. Fucking cat. Jesus Christ, cat. Really? I quite like this one. I do like it more than the F-15. I quite like it. You'll see later though. MB339. Also, one of the most common or most iconic trainer jets. I'm not including the TA-38 Talon. Also, don't think the TA-38 Talon is quite as advanced either, or has had as much service fighting, like doing actual combat service. Has a bit of the Hawk thing going on. Really small intakes. I actually might put it below the Hawk. Also, flat wings. This is definitely low B. Shit, it might actually be over here. Nothing in D quite yet. Yeah, these are all like underwhelming, I would say. MiG-21. Oh my god. Yes, sir. So we're gonna get to the Russian aircraft. It's gonna be pretty exciting. MiG-21. Oh man, how to burp. There's a lot of variants of the MiG-21. I don't really like the earliest variants that much, but I do at the same time. Kind of mixed on it. Certain variants have like a bit too much fuel tank going on. Yeah, the fire jet that won't retire. Yeah, one of the most produced fire jets of all time, if not the most. I don't remember. This is the Bison, which is one of the latest versions. The J7s especially look really cool. At first I used to not really understand why people like this thing that much. But it's been a long time since then, just like the F-14, but even longer. I've actually liked this thing quite a bit more recently. Quite a bit before I started liking it, because it got out of War Thunder way earlier. J7 looks pretty damn cool as well. The double delta. The double delta being, here's a delta right here, and here's another delta like another triangle shape. It's a normal delta, but you get an extra little crick in it, which helps it prevent from stalling. B21's really quite nice, honestly, especially some variants. B21 93 looks just mean. The ramjet intake changes depending on altitude as well. A lot of nice liveries going on. I don't like this one as much. It's really fat looking. From the Alpha, yeah, it looks pretty sleek. I actually kind of like the F the most, but at the same time, it has a S7 vibe. Well, that's actually pretty cool. Low key from this angle looks like a really long Sagittario or Ariete or whatever. King of B tier up there with the Jaguar. Actually, I think I might put Jaguar at the bottom here. So hard to say. Let me look at the F-111 again. Yeah, I mean that's just fucking badass. Like really. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on this guy though. Does give off plane vibe. This is plane. Hello. Yeah, that's fine. That works. MiG-23 and MiG-27. MiG-23 and MiG-27. So you know these are these versions. I think this thing would look so much better if it had two engines, but that's what the MiG-25 is for. Well, this does have variable swept wings. But yeah, MiG-23, also pretty iconic. I kind of really dig it though. It's grown on me a bit over the years. I used to really like it, and then I stopped liking it when I had to work on it as much, and then I started liking it even more recently. Like it's crawled back up. I don't really like the MiG-27K, so I'm not MiG-27 as much. The nose isn't as cool. The gun is cooler though. It's just a speed fucking demon. I'm gonna have to put it. It might be King of Beat. It is probably my least favorite looking variable swept wing that I can think of right now. But still pretty cool. I think I like it more than like 23. The J looks pretty badass in its own right. This just looks Interceptor to me. Like a fucking NASA machine, bro. I quite like it. Yeah, I might have to put this up here. Oh god, so hard. Here is something I've really been wanting to talk about. Did I talk enough about the MiG-23? Oh yeah, MiG-23, real quick. I can actually like talk more in depth. I quite like the radar, it looks pretty cool. Oh god, this looks so cool. Pretty small, considering. Well, this one's I guess low to the ground actually. I don't usually recall the gears looking out like that. These are like different different looking gears or it's weird. Interesting. It's kind of like the F4 intake going on here for Phantom. There's a couple other aircraft that have like that kind of design as well. A really long vehicle. Plane. I like the stabilator underneath. Looks really cool when it's swept. It was just like I said, would look so much better with two engines. But it does look really good with their camos. I still think I like the J8 more. Yeah. So hard. It's so hard to rank these guys, man. Oh, it's so hard. Make me fucking sad. Looks so badass with these right here. I don't really like these here, but these look so cool. I don't like this camera. It looks dumb. I'll fucking paint the other wing. You replaced it. Why don't you repaint it? It's pretty cool though. But yeah, this thing just kind of gives off the vibe that it wanted to be a double engine, which is what the J8 does right. Man, that's so hard. I'm just gonna do. Yeah, they're gonna be. Yeah, because they're like, what did I say? D is kind of ugly. Like, yeah, pretty ugly. Um, Unattractive. A C is like underwhelming, so it's like, eh. And B is, I think I said it was decent. I believe I said decent. Yeah, it's pretty decent. A is, I think it looks pretty good, and S is gorgeous. A is good. That's a good looking plane. B is, that looks pretty decent. That's fine. I don't mind it. It looks pretty neat. C is underwhelming. I don't really like it, but I don't dislike it. D is, I don't like it. It's kind of ugly. Would I say the Jaguar is decent? Yeah, I think I would say the Jaguar is decent. And J8 is decent. And MiG-23 is decent. These are like 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 aircraft. I would say these are like definitely the 6 out of 10. I would say that 5 out of 10 is where you get to the Hawk, F-104, A-10, J-10. Like I'm being a little bit too mean to the A-10. I'm gonna put this guy at King of C tier. Put the A-10 actually. It does look fucking badass. It's a little dorky, but it does look cool. Like it undoubtedly does. Definitely not as cool as the Harrier, but it has more personality than the Hawk, which I think where I docked a lot of points on the Hawk is it looks kind of. It doesn't like there are trainers that do that look just much better, and the MB339 is just kind of pretty. Yeah, yeah. I might actually put that fucking back here. These guys are kind of. Shouldn't mind the A7 as much. Big 25, big 29. No, this is big 25. Okay, I'm not actually. I was like hyping up the next one, but then I realized. For some reason, this is like the double cockpit version, which I don't really like that version that much. Heavy MFer, heavy all aircraft. But this is what the MiG 23 should have done. It's kind of, I would say this is like if a MiG 23 and a MiG 25, or MiG 23 and a F-15 would combine into. But it looks pretty badass, not gonna lie. Yeah, now we're like into the Soviet powerhouses. The Gen 4 kind of stuff. MiG-23, I think, is Gen 3. Maybe 4, depending on like the latest variants. Just like how the MiG-21 later variants are all like Gen 3. And I think maybe the latest or like the most advanced MiG-23s could fit as a 3.5 or a 4th gen. I would say the MiG-23 is kind of the same, except the MiG-23 started as a Gen 3 on not Gen 2 like the 21. This thing, yeah, there's a lot. I'm gonna like it more. It does look badass, but there's like a lot of flat. It's like a lot of flat. It's just long. It's a bit too long for not like that. Not as much going on. I do kind of like the Yak 20, a Yak 141 more, which we're not putting on the list because it's a prototype basically. It was never really produced. There's only like 4 built or something. Yak 141, I think. It's not quite as big wings. That does look so cool though. Not quite as big wings. And it has only one engine instead of two. I do like the two engines on MiG 5, but it's not quite as long. It doesn't overstay its welcome too much. It has some leading edge going on, which I think would help. Like 25 watt. Yeah, there's like no leading edge here. I think if this had leading edge up to here-ish. Oh god, that's okay, that specific variant is hideous. It's one of the ugliest implementation of double cockpits ever, along with like the Civics and oh, that's so cool though. That's crazy. It's horrifying. Yeah, look how weird like the intake ended up fat, ugly eyes, because that's like the thing of double cockpit version. These are bad. Some of them, the double cockpit ones. Yeah, there's things it could do to look better. But let's look at the MiG-31. That is definitely the best looking variant. It's kind of weird thing going on there. The double cockpit, but it's definitely better than the other double cockpit. It's not as disruptive. Kind of gives off that MiG-21 double cockpit vibe or whatever. Some aircraft I'm thinking of. It just looks more sleek and more modern by a little bit. It's mostly the same, but there is a little bit of leading edge. Not quite as much as I would want, but that does help quite a bit. I would say it's like so close to looking gorgeous. And I think if it gets added to War Thunder and I see it more often in video game media and I use it, I'm definitely getting this thing if it gets added. I would probably put it quite a bit higher. Oh, God, that does look so cool. Okay, I think this would be low A tier. Unfortunately, it's a little bit conventional, a little bit generic, but it's pretty badass. F-111, yeah. I think low tier makes sense. Low tier's awesome. Okay, here's the thing I'm excited for. Okay, the MiG-29. This is my next S tier. I already know because I fucking love it. It's my favorite Russian aircraft. There we go. That's a nice image. Ever made. Here's a one cockpit version. This is, I think, the K or the M variant. One of the two. This is, no, this isn't that one. Double cockpit as well, though. There's, I think it's OTK or some shit. A version that has, there's a couple versions. I think the MiG-35 could, but there's like a specific MiG-29 version that has thrust vectoring, which is pretty cool. Doesn't look too much visually different, but is cool to see them being used in flight. Yeah, MiG-29, then MiG-35. I think they're willing to sell thrust vectoring to implements on these two nations that buy it, but yeah, to save cost and weight and maintenance and all that stuff, they didn't have it. But MiG-35, yeah, MiG-35 tends to have double cockpit versions. I don't really know what's single cockpit versions. I think it's a really nice implementation of a double cockpit. This is easy fucking S tier. Even above the F-14 for me personally. Not by much though. They're both pretty neck and neck. They're all going to be. It just looks like this is Bandit. Like this is the enemy jet. This is Inui Jet, the jet. Like to a T and perfectly done as well. Also, MiG-35 looks nice spine implementation to the back part. And this is used as an air brake and a drag chute. You can see it right there being used as an air brake. On this version, it's a little less snuck in. Yeah, this has a smaller. This is a little bit bigger. This might be an SMT or something. Some of them have smaller spines for fuselages, for fuel tanks. I mean, fuel. Yeah. Okay, the MiG-29 SMT. I used to dislike this, but over time it's grown on me. I still like it less than the regular version, but the big fuel tank actually doesn't look too bad. Yeah. Actually want to show off the tail segment a little better. That's some gorgeous camos. Yeah, this part is a little bit more flat, and the MiG-35 looked, at least on that version, it kind of blended into a little bit more, a little bit thin of a spine here. Some of them don't have it as thin. But yeah, I like how it's the midline, middle part of it is where the wings are. There's two tails that are, unlike the F-15, they actually blend out a little. Where's my... They angle out like very, very slightly. They angle out like 1 to 3 degrees. The F-15 is like perfectly straight and looks a little bizarre. The flares are put here. Like, this is nice how it blends into the... It doesn't entirely send the wing. It just kind of pulls out a little. The intakes are big underneath. If you look at it from below, these freaking massive engines, just like the Su-27, the flankers, looks pretty much identical. Maybe a little bit more change around the nose, hard to tell. Yeah, this part is blended in more. There's a fuel tank, but both of them can have that fuel tank and ignore the rockets and dummy missiles and whatnot. Looks pretty similar. This is a little bit nicer though. Yeah, it has a little bit, it goes quite a bit longer actually, and it blends outwards. It's not as dainty as here. I think these flaps are down. Maybe the flaps are extended, which I don't quite like as much. I like the flaps here more. But generally speaking, yes, S tier. I didn't want to just leave too quickly, but I didn't know how to describe why I like it. I swear to God, cat. Cat wants to eat, but he has 30 minutes. And I don't want to put food down for him quite yet. So this is back to back another S tier. This is probably my favorite jet of all time. Definitely my favorite Delta jet of all time. Delta being one big long wing. Not really one, technically two. But yeah, this doesn't really have canards. These aren't actually full canards. And they don't move like a good amount of canards do. Not all canards move, but the bigger ones typically do. Vigan is an example of big canards not moving. God, even the double cockpit version looks pretty cool. I'm not really a fan of how that part is done, where it's all angled, but it doesn't bother me nearly enough. This is the GOAT. Oh my God, I love it so much. Nice camos. I know it looks very simple to some people, but I think it's the most effective design while still having personality. It kind of gives off like the F-16 vibe. It's the F-16 of Delta planes visually. Although the Gripen is a lot more comparable to the F-16 in terms of performance and lore and all that usage. It just looks so pretty. Even this Greek one, I think that's Greek. I forget. Argentina, I don't remember. Ooh, looks really good though. I think it's Greek. I believe the Greek use this quite a bit. Oh, it's so pretty. Like, yeah, the engine sticks out a bit, but it's not quite as small or much of an eyesore as the Gripens. My only complaint is I wish these canards were either removed or made to look a little bit more modern. Like, they're so dainty. The refueling probe looks badass. The ordnance racks look cool on it. I like the little lights here. Oh god, it just looks so good. And the intakes aren't too big. Cockpit sits nicely in this area on like the early J20 variants. Especially the double cockpit version just looks right. Does look cool with the leading slats. It's my bias, bro. It's my bias. Yeah, I'm very strict with S tier. Like the gorgeous, like the rugged jaw dropping 10 out of 10 masterpiece aircraft. Yeah. F1 is plane, the plane of planes. It's kind of vaguely like the Civic Jaguar and the F1 T2, that kind of stuff. Like a MiG-25 that decided to be smooth instead of angular. Does look pretty cool though, I must admit. It's basically a Mirage 2000 predecessor, or Mirage 3, like in between the 3, which is not on this list because it's really mostly a Gen 2 aircraft. Mirage 3 and Mirage 2000. But instead of it being a Delta, it's just a traditional wing aircraft, which it does look cool for a traditional wing aircraft that's like plane to plane to plane. And I feel like the Jaguar is also plane to plane, but it has a little bit more, quite a bit more personality. This one also has a Jaguar, or it has the double gear, but this one has a double gear in the front instead of a single gear in the front. I actually quite like it, despite being surprisingly generic. I think one of these planes, though, I did say has kind of like a nose like it. I forget which one. Was it the MiG-25? Oh, which F1? I think it might have to be top of B tier. It's plane to plane to plane. It is very clean. It's hard to say it's better than the Jaguar, though. I think Jaguar has a bit more personality, but it's so clean. It is military fighter jet number 1. Other than the nose being like a bit too sharp. Yeah, this is the Gen 3. Like the Mirage 3 is the Gen. Mirage 1, 3, and 5 are like the Gen 2. Mirage F1 is the Gen 4 or 3, and the Mirage 2000 is the Gen 3. I wonder what these guys are saying. Gen 4. God, especially this version with this camouflage on it. It looks so good. It's a bit boring though. I think I'll put in that just above the MiG-23. MiG-23 is kind of nicer, honestly. It is nice though. I will give it that. Q5, which is a MiG-19 made for really MiG-19 made for ground attack. Now, I was struggling whether to put this on the thing, but I think it's too iconic, whether it is a Gen 2 or 3 or what the fuck. It's definitely going to be Gen 3. It does use guided munitions and whatnot. It's kind of like the Chinese SU-25, which I think we're getting to. I bet, yeah. Dude, pretty badass, not gonna lie. I do quite like it. I would say it's probably, I'm already just thinking might be low of A. Looks great, honestly. Yeah, I'm gonna put it up there. Oh, God, A tier stack, bro. That's a pretty fucking aircraft, dude. That's gorgeous. I love it. Is this Pakistan? I forgot. I know the A5 is. No, it's not it. It's not Pakistan. I forget what. Bangladesh. I think it's Bangladesh. Odd. I mean, it's kind of plane to plane, but it does have enough personality. Unlike the F1. That's mean looking. MiG-29 with just everything done right. MiG-29 has a weird open nose, like the MiG-25s and MiG-17s, or MiG-15s and MiG-17s. It has a nice nose. The intake is very effective. The guns are right next to the intake, which looks badass. Yeah, the engines look cool from behind. When you're flying it, you feel awesome. I feel like there's a double cockpit variant. I feel like there should be a double cockpit variant. But even though it's a single cockpit, at least the ones I'm aware of, the single cockpit complements it. Usually I really advocate for double cockpit on something like the Mitsubishi F1, something that's really long, really kind of benefits a lot from it. But yeah, that's a pretty aircraft. I love it when I don't have to type Mitsubishi or Nanshing. I don't have to type the company when it comes up as the main result. That's a cool camo. I like that. It's not a bad livery. This is an aircraft that is definitely going to change when I get added to War Thunder to how I rate it. Because I bounce all over the place how I think about this thing. Like, it's always been above the Eurofighter, but recently I started watching stuff with the Eurofighter, and the Eurofighter squeaked above it for a bit. But I think looking at it again, it might be above the Eurofighter. It is pretty. I do think it's overrated, though. There's a lot of... I mean, it's French, of course. The French are going to overrate their own stuff. Heavy bias towards their own military, but then they hate their own government, which is fair. But it's like, yeah. It does do things pretty nicely. But yeah, like that one aircraft that I mentioned, I think the FCK1, I'll just say. Or the fuck one, everyone calls it, because it looks like it's censored. It does that thing, but it does it better. It does it more uniquely. It does look cool on a carrier. Looks mean. Really dark camo. Actually fits it really well. But even though it's unique, I don't really rate it that part. Like, I like that it makes it unique, but at the same time, I do feel like it adds points and takes away points, but I feel like it adds 1 point, takes away 2. Like, it's one step forward, one step backwards. And I don't like the double cockpit version at all. I think the double cockpit, they flubbed it. It could have looked cool, but it looks alien and all wonky. The front looks kind of goofy. From every other angle looks cool, but specifically from the front, it's like a weird shape, bro. It's just so weird. The rest of it, just like the Typhoon and really many aircraft on here, sometimes it just gets run by the nose area and the cockpit area. The rest of it looks really good, like the J10. I'm gonna have to put it just look cooler than the MiG-25. Probably there. The fair guess. Yeah, we're in the SU area. SU-30, we're getting into the flankers. Now, I don't actually like this as much as I do like the other flankers. I think this might be my least favorite flanker. At first, I thought I liked it the most, but then looking at it, it's just way too raised. Way too fucking raised. That's ridiculous. That is so absurd. And the little canards look dainty. Like they almost do it right. But then like they're so close. They could have blended it more, but then they do this slat thingy that ends up making the canard, or not slat, but the slit, this little divider line that ends up making the canard thinner here. It thins out even more. It doesn't fully integrate seamlessly. So it just kind of looks bizarre because it looks like it wants to and then it doesn't. Okay, this is a version without the canard, which I actually kind of like more. Like generally I prefer canards, but I think they implement it kind of awkwardly. From a distance, it's not as big of a deal, but when you look at it close, it looks weird. And I think the J16 or J15 is also the same way, the Chinese version. Like how this is like, surely it's supposed to have its gear on the ground. How is it hovering? It's just a picture of it mid-flight, going stupid low, to the point where it would touch the ground if it had gears probably, or almost. But you're gonna be like, why would you rate it so low? I don't, okay, it does look cool from like the side, like way out here. But there's like so much weight over in this part. And then it's kind of dainty back here. So close, but this is a fucking... This is probably king of B tier. It still looks cool. It's still on a really beautiful chassis. Like, yeah. They just kind of fucked it up. They flubbed. They flubbed out one of Myers most. SU-17. This is an aircraft where specific variants actually really quite like how it looks, but on average, I can't even choose the best version because there's only like one version. Like this version looks cool, but all the other versions look like fucking, I don't know. It needs to have that battle hard. It needs to have like stuff on it. It needs to have like a nice tricolor, at least bicolor camo going on. If it's naked like this, nothing on it, like an SE7 like this, it just looks like it's trying to look battle hardened, but it's not. When it really is battle hardened and has a lot of stuff going on, yeah, fuel tanks and stuff, has the flare racks especially, then it looks good. But I'm gonna have to give this a fucking low B, honestly. Yeah, behind the A10 maybe. Like the A10 always has the racks on, it always looks ready for battle. But seeing early versions of it, or unloaded versions of it that are empty, it gives off that vibe where it's like, why are you even here, bro? Like it's like having an M1 Abrams without all the bags on it, without all the gear and equipment, just bare bones. It's like taking off the composite off of it, or taking off the ERA blocks off of certain tanks. SU-24 is pretty cool. Recently added. I don't think it quite looks as good as the Aardvark, especially with the wings out sideways. It looks weird. It really does look like a Russian Vark. But I think the Vark does better. The Vark has the nice leading edge, which I, generally speaking, I prefer leading edges on aircraft that have intakes like that. Sometimes they fuck up. Sometimes aircraft will mess up how they do leading edge. This is a later version, which does have leading edge, to be fair. Definitely looks better. Looks like cockpit. I can't give this below the fucking... Like, I can't put this in B tier. This is still a nice looking aircraft. It's like neck and neck with the F-111. We're almost done with this tier list. I said it'd be done for 3 hours, and we're definitely on track to be done in 30 minutes, even 2.5. Definitely before 3 hours. So far, though, you'll notice I don't actually have many low. Actually, I might put this one back. This is fucking ugly. I kind of like the A6 a little more. It has a little bit more personality. let me look at that thing again. But yeah, this thing does look pretty badass. Yeah, it just does not do anything right, really. Might be too mean on it though. But there are times where it looks good. But then like right here looks fucking like what the hell? There's so much going on, man. There's just too much going on, dude. This thing looks goofy as hell too, though. Those look kind of cool when it has stuff loaded. Yeah, especially like from this angle, it just looks mean. I might put the F104 lower. It's a little underwhelming. Like it's cool, but then you know. No, I think it does belong at the bottom of B tier. It's a 5 out of 10 aircraft. It's cool, like especially sound, but like depending on the setup, it can look pretty 5 out of 10. Some setups it looks like a 6 out of 10, but I think the average is yeah. And you don't usually see in the right setup. I don't know. It's hard to give that thing any higher than it is or any lower. I think it's pretty fair where it's at. I think I like it just a bit more than the J10. As it's self figured out, unlike the J10, which doesn't know what it really wants to be quite that well. A lot of this stuff can be wherever. I don't know. You know, I said this is. Wait, I said this is like 10 out of 10, 8, 9. I think I said this is 6, 7. And this is 4, 5. Yeah, and then this is like 3, 1 to 3. There isn't really a 1 or 2. There's hardly a 3. I can't even do that really. I think a lot of aircraft look pretty good. God, that's fucking hard. I do like the lore of it, but aesthetically, it's not my favorite. I think it might be fair to do that there, honestly. I think it's fine. I'm gonna do more of that stuff later, but yeah, this doesn't look too bad. It'd be a little, yeah, it just does not. It's like in between of the MB339 and the AMX. It does look cool with that kind of stuff going on. Yeah, it can stay at the bottom of that tier. Okay, and I'm not doing it just so I don't have that much stuff going on. But yeah. No, I still prefer it back there, honestly. It's definitely enough above the J10. Like I said, it's not confused. And I do actually quite like it when it has double cockpit. Like a bit too much to put it low. I should be able to find a double cockpit version here. I think it's the J, the Japanese ones that has the double cockpit. Just fucking type it in. There we go. Yes. Gee, that looks fucking cool, dude. That single-handedly saves. Okay, it wasn't the J. That single-handedly helps a lot. It really does. Especially if they made the spine blend in more. Like with the T2. It looks so good. Looks a little weird here. I don't know why it looks so far ahead up here. Like the wings are way up there. I think the wings should stay back there. Yeah, that's so much better. Yeah, I think it's enough to keep it in B tier. Now let's go to SE25. SE25 is pretty good. It's kind of like the AMX. Doesn't really screw anything up. It's definitely better than the A10 visually. Has a bit of that A5 going on, kind of vibe, just a little bit. SE25. Should I bring the MiG-25 down? SE25 is pretty cool looking though. Not gonna lie. That's hard. Yeah, you know what? I do think it's fair being right there. All right, SE27, and I'll include the SU35 because the SU35 is pretty similar. Unlike the SU30, which has canards most of the time, and even without the canards, it has a double cockpit that significantly looks different. God, those look really good. It doesn't overstay its welcome. And the SU35 difference is a little, there are some very small things about it to make it visually different to what we just saw, the SU27. It's okay. I guess we can just use images here. Yeah, this has a slightly different nose, a little bit going on here, but really the most obvious difference is it's the nose tube, which I do generally prefer. I think it looks cool. But this has nicer, like a more full stabilizer, or what the fuck you want to call it, rudder. Also, like the fulcrum, I feel like it pulls out a couple degrees. Actually, it might be a little bit more like the F15, where it's pretty much 90 degrees. It might be like 89 degrees, and the MiG-29 is like 88 or 87. The 15 is straight up, F15 is straight up 90 degrees. Yeah, there's not enough difference. But with that being said, I think it does things right. Now, there is an SE33, but because it's only been produced like 20 times, and I think I said this earlier in the stream, there's the SE57 that has also been produced just about as much as SE33, but it's very unique. It's uniquely its own aircraft. The SU33 is just an SU27 with canards visually. It's not that much different. It's only slightly more different than the SU35 is compared to the SU27. Like the difference between the SU33 and SU27 is slightly more than SU35 and SU27, just because of the addition of the canards. It does the canards much better than the SU30. The SU30's integration of canards isn't really that good. But yeah, this would go much higher. Unironically, I think it is. Yeah, it's definitely in this sort of area. It might be above the F15 for me. Because again, it has its own personality. It doesn't look generic. I think putting an SU30 this low is a little bit rude. It's beautiful everywhere else. The versions without the canards don't look quite as tacky. But this is like what, decent, I said? Yeah, and this doesn't quite have enough personality. I think it's a little bit more fair. MiG-25, it looks cool, but it has that F-15 genericness going on. I should put this guy a little lower. I do kind of like that 35 a little more, depending on the variant. So hard though, so hard, man. like the Alpha Jet. Yeah, okay. This is going to constantly be changing. It's really hard to put it somewhere. Let me look back at it. It does look cool. That version looks stupid as hell. I think it'd be easier if we go through the wiki and we go through it like this. Yeah, it's scary as fuck. But yeah, it does have that plane to plane syndrome, just like the F-15. It is badass, but I feel like the F-15, this thing's a little better. The F-15 isn't quite as elongated. It doesn't overstay its welcome. That double cockpit version is god awful hideous. Genuinely one of the worst integrations of a double cockpit. Yeah, I think if it didn't have so much clout. Yeah, if it didn't have so much clout, people wouldn't like it as much. But it visually, but because it obviously is one of the fastest fighter jets of all time, and it has the reputation of being absolutely horrifying. It really has high ratings, but yeah, without having worked on it, it's really hard for me to place it because I don't have as much experience looking at it from different angles. It is pretty badass though. That's cool. I think I said because like it's decent. That's a decent looking aircraft. Yeah, I would say it's a decent looking aircraft. It's not a good, like it's not like damn, that's a pretty good aircraft. But it's definitely not like underwhelming in the least. It's pretty damn nice. Um SU-34. This is gonna be hard to place. It does look pretty cool though. The double gear in front, little duck nose going on. I think it's actually a pretty nice looking aircraft. Canards kind of have that same thing going on where they're super tiny. I still don't like that integration of the Canards. And I do want to see what it looks like on SU-33. SU-33 also kind of got that thing going on. I think the main problem is that it's like smooth out and then it just stops abruptly. Which obviously, like it makes sense. That's not like that, and I'm sure every other Delta has like that. But for some reason on this one, it's a little more off-putting. Nice looking aircraft, although nose sticks out over a lot and it's like pretty skinny. SU-34, I think just looks pretty damn nice, honestly. I definitely prefer it over that thing. Okay. We can move on. Yeah, there are some cool variants though. It's pretty badass, but kind of has a bit of F104 syndrome where it's so fucking long. Same with the JH and the J8, but I think the JH, and the F1 or T2, I should say. I think those variants pull their weight better with all that length. The MiG 3125 has such little going on. Like it would have been so much nicer if it was like shortened a little bit and then the leading edge was more elongated. Yeah, okay. SU-57. I quite like that. Nice long. I don't like this part. This part it sticks out way too much. Like way too fucking much. Like I said, the F-14 is kind of annoying. This one's really bad. And these are obviously more up in the middle, whereas the F-14's stabilators or whatever the fuck you want to call them are further in the back. I know the different terminologies. I'm just fucking lazy, I guess. I can't be bothered to be accurate. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, that was a pretty nice looking aircraft though. I think this is also one of my favorite looking stealth jets. I like it more than F-22, and I don't know if I like it more than the J-20. Like the J-20 has so much fucking personality. Yeah, that's just badass how it, like, do like me some deltas. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say it squeaks it out a bit. Super Etendar. Oh yeah, I guess I should say I like how the wings like super long here, and it goes boop, and then it goes back in again. And these obviously move and prospecting. Really cool. I wish these were a little bit bigger. These are fine. Everything else is fine. These don't need to be a little bigger. Double cockpit version could be pretty cool. Not necessary, but it has that thing going on that the J-20B has, where there's actually like a spine there. It's not abrupt like the J-20A version. I like the SC-75 a lot from an up top point view. The intake part, this part, it's just a little iffy on that. Thing looks really good. I think the camo helps a fuck ton. It's really hard not to associate it with the camo. It's definitely one of the nicest camo. It's a really nice camo to see on other aircraft, like people putting on other aircraft for looks. And I think it is fucking huge. Yeah, black looks cool. It also gives off that enemy aircraft, like this is the enemy kind of vibe. Big villain vibes. Yeah, Super Etendar. I don't have the normal Etendar here because it's a Gen 2. It's not really that advanced. This is a Gen 3, has afterburner and guided missiles. Looks pretty cool. I think I like the regular Etendar more, but this is at first I didn't really like the Etendar too much, but seeing it in Warton helps a lot. I think this is normal Etendar, and this is a super. Hard to tell. These look a little. These are the super. Kind of tripping me. I was thinking it'd be longer. Yeah, they definitely look derived from each other, but there's surely a difference. Enough difference. This is an interesting looking aircraft. I think it's kind of ugly, but it does look really iconic. There's something nice about it. I just wish the nose area was done a little better. It's also kind of generic in the back. I believe it has some pretty cool afterburners. That nice, pretty decent camo. Kind of gives off that Russian World War II gray, bicolor gray camo vibe. This is a good image. It's decent. It's pretty generic, and then when it tries to be unique, it looks a little weird. But it is kind of cool in its own right. I think I like the F-104 double cockpit more though. But I do like it does have a different bit of a unique thing going on. Really hard to place that one. I think this might be your first S tier or F tier. I forget Hal. I keep forgetting it's Hal Tejas. Actually, it's not that bad. It's not that good either. Mirage wants to be a Mirage, wants to be a few other aircraft. It's not sure what it wants to really do. Kind of ugly. Like it's so close to being good. Oh, this is the Mark II? Really? Wait, is this actually? Yeah, some variants do look pretty good. But the okay, thank you. The main variant you see there is kind of ugly. A bit with how it does things. Limited series production, huh? Oh, that's weird how it has this whole thing and then these are way down here. The leading edge is like super prominent and rounded. And then the intakes are way separated. But the certain variant, like this looks cool from this degree. Certain variants in the double cockpit. Goddamn cat, really? Oh my fucking god. This time he needs to be fed. Yeah, these are just better looking. Oh, Tejas is kind of down. I would say he's the new king of C tier. Some of it's good and some of it's not. For the love of God, cat, please. Oh my god, man. I'm gonna kill this thing. This critter. Tornado looks so good. Great variable swept wing technology. I don't want to rush my stuff because of this cat. The multi-role attack version, strike version is much nicer looking than the fighter version with the big ad nose. This is a normal one, but there's a fighter version that has like a really long, elongated nose. Maybe it's, I don't know. I really like this thing, especially lately. It's grown on me a lot. I like it more than the F111. Not as much as the F14. Definitely more than the MiG-23. Tornado goes far. I don't know if it quite goes to SC-20. Okay, Kafir is definitely not that high. Come on. Yeah. I might put these down here. Sorry, that's not supposed to be down here. Tornado definitely goes. No. Might be a little more accurate. F850 is nice though. It's so hard to place it. It's still my favorite looking trainer by a lot though. F850 isn't incredibly far behind, but it's definitely like there's definitely a gap. F4 and Tornado kind of give off a similar thing. SC27 is a bit huge and it is a little goofy, but man, okay. It's so hard. Okay. Yeah, I like how the double engines are in the fucking massive elevators and rudder and all that stuff. The wings don't look too weird when they're swept out, but they still look great when they're swept in. Looks gorgeous in formation flights. It's really good. I have to put this thing higher than fucking. I think I have to put it higher than that. Come on, that thing's gorgeous. It used to be not. Yeah, when I didn't work on there, I was kind of underwhelmed, and then over time, it's just God. It looks so photogenic, man. Yeah, FR has a really stinking long spine. It's kind of crazy. Uh, it's so hard. Um, Eurofire Typhoon used to really quite dislike this thing. Well, not quite, but yeah, like this area looks fucking hideous. But over time, at one point, it started looking nice. Oh, 16 on top. Oh, hi, Chiseko. Oh my god, finally a chatter. First time. That's fine. I kind of did it to myself. It's all self-inflicted. Streamed out of the middle of nowhere. Also haven't been streaming much because life has been busy. But man, yeah, that intake ugly. I wish they were like, it wouldn't be that ugly if it was like just blended in a little. Could look really good, and then move the canards back. But there's something kind of charming about it. It gives off that goofy World War II, just make it as we go vibe. But the rest of the aircraft looks gorgeous. This part, it's not too bad. It's definitely like easy to ignore, and from a lot of angles, it's not that bad. I just, this is just by looks only. By the way, I just want to clarify. I made this list, and now I made this list earlier today. I spent so long trying to choose the right stuff, and now I'm here. Typhoon might be the goat of B tier. Yeah, where did I put the Rafale? Rafale's actually pretty decent. Yeah, not too much higher. Uh, Actually, I might put the Typhoon there. At least the MiG-25 is not like ugly per se. Yeah, S16 is pretty high though. It's hard for me to put it that high because it is very like in so much media, but I can't deny that those look so sleek. Vigan, yes, Vigan is something I brought up earlier. It has the canards, but they're not swept. I think these do move though. Actually, I don't remember. Yeah, it seems like they moved. Maybe they're landing flaps or something. I don't remember. Well, that's kind of cursed. A double cockpit Vigan. I do not like that integration. Vigan could look so good with the double cockpit, and they screw it up again, just like the MiG-25. Ooh, nice DCS. Vigan's honestly like, yeah, it's the ugly cockpit here too. Honestly, a pretty aircraft. I never really liked the deltas though, like the delta wings it goes on. I don't want to stop showing me that hideous version. I don't like how it kind of looks like it wants to be routed, but also looks like it wants to be straight. And then these just kind of poke out of nowhere. But from the side, it's so pretty. Stop showing me that variant. Stop it. I don't want to look at it. It's so bizarre. It's so unique. It doesn't like it's obviously a Delta canard, Euro canard. But it's like the OG. Like everyone stole it from him. He did it first, not yeah, he pretty much did do it first for having both canards and Delta wings. Or definitely the one who made it popular. Everyone else came and did it better to varying degrees. Some way. I think it has to be behind the Rafale. It might be the A tier bottom. I think it has to be a goat of B tier. There's just too much quirks that tick me off, but still so pretty. It's actually impressive there is no D tier. None of them are ugly per se. Like a lot of them have ugly traits, but none of them are outright like a 3 out of 10. They all have like some redeeming quality. This cat, I swear. Jesus Christ. I thought they would feed them. Oh, two more. And then I'm going to spend like 8 hours trying to figure out the exact orientation. I want to have a D tier. There has to be a D tier, just like how there has to be an S tier, which we luckily have. Yak 130 looks so gorgeous. Also, one of my favorite looking trainers. Whew. Damn. God damn, they do everything right. That's pretty. It's definitely chibified though. But for a trainer, I mean, all trainers are pretty much cheapified or something. Although actually, the Amex isn't that cheapified. But that is, god damn, bro, that's actually pretty. That might be up there with the Amex. Damn. Like I always knew I liked it, but looking at the pictures here, it just kind of reinforces it. Oh, yeah, this is the SU or that thingy. Tejas. So derpy looking. Yeah, that little bump there. This thing could be so good, but it gives off that vegan thing where there's a lot of little quirks going wrong. But it doesn't have nearly as much of an identity as the vegan. The Yak 38. Let's see here. I do quite like the Yak 38 from my recollection, but it has the F104 thing going on where it's really dainty. Or it's really long. It has that MiG 25 thing going on as well, where it's just super long. But like the F104 has really small wings. It looks so cool in VTOL mode though. When it has that little thing up. Definitely has that Soviet look too. It would look so good if they made the wings better. What the hell is that thing? What the hell is that variant? Yeah, it kind of gives off that spacecraft vibe too. Also looks good on a carrier. There's a lot of small things I would do to make it look so much better. Like a lot of small things that would add up a point each. Which is the D tier. It has to be a D tier. Now that we're done with everything, yeah, I'll just say it real quick. I'll just make the wings bigger. Make the wings have a leading edge. If we're gonna have this thing that fucking long, actually, honestly, cut it off as well. Like, get rid of some of that. It is kind of ugly, but badass at the same time. It's both. And dorky. It's somehow dorky and badass. Cat, please. Please. Shut the fuck up. Please. You're the only one who complains about food. All the other three just eat each other alive. Oh my god. I'm gonna be right back. Okay, I'm back. Jesus Christ. He had food. He's just being really weird. He's so picky. Which is weird considering he's a junk rat who we found off the streets. I think he was the oldest when we got him out of the 4. Okay. Oh, this is gonna take for fucking ever. Okay, we're gonna go down this list again. I don't know. I might like the Big 29 more than the Mirage 2000. My favorite variable swept wing aircraft is my favorite standard wing aircraft. Is my favorite Delta wing aircraft. Favorite 2-engine, favorite 1-engine aircraft. These two is where I'm not really sure. I do feel like the MiG-29 has more of a unique identity than the Mirage 2000 because a lot of aircraft came before and after the Mirage 2000 that were influenced by it. MiG-29 only really influenced the flanker, which the flanker influenced everything else. Nothing really took as much influence on the MiG-29 specifically. They usually took inspiration off of the flanker that came after the Fulcrum. So it does have more of a unique look to it. I really like the Mirage 2000 though. It's the best thing France has ever made. I think I have to put the Yak 28 down here. Like, it's cool, but bro, like the F-104 is one of the few aircraft that does really small wings well. Just because it looks like a fucking hot rod. It's crazy. Mirage 2000. It is pretty conventional for a Delta. But it's like the Delta. You have food, bro. I'm going to lock you in a room. Holy crap. Turns out he's just lonely. He's a lonely boy. He ate and now he wants attention. So I don't want to give him attention. I'll let my sister do that. So I can't wait to move out. So I only have to have pets. Oh, it's so pretty though. Oh my god. I'm going to do a hard cutoff at 3 hours. So if I'm still working on this thing, bro, I'm going to hard cut at 3 hours. That's when I'll do the outro screen. Oh, I think I have to do the MiG-29 higher. It's just a bit more unique. It feels a less. I know it seems like very conventional and less unique just because you have like F-15 and all that stuff to kind of. But that is just the perfect way to do that. Just like the Mirage 2000 is the perfect way to do it. Something. The only thing that kind of puts the MiG-29 over the Mirage 2000 is Mirage 2000 has these dainty little things. And it's like you either get rid of it or you make it look even better. There's no real significant flaws to it though, I'm not gonna lie. Dual cockpit looks good. Looks great with all that stuff. Oh, it's so hard to say the MiG-29 looks better. Oh, I turned off the light in my room. Of course, the face tracking is worse. No, whatever. I'm keeping the lights off. I'm gonna end this stream anyways. I was like, why is it not squinting when I'm squinting as well? Bro, made a whole video about how it's important to have good lighting. Well, not a whole video, but yeah, whole little rant about it, anyways. Then said video. It's so pretty. This is GTA mod, but yeah, MiG 29 is like the goat. It's not too long, it's not too wide, the wings aren't too stubby. All the proportions are done right. The engines separate nicely. I wish the engines bled a little bit more into here, but that could just be this version. Some really beautiful leading edge. Looks so good from the side too. Looks good from every angle. Some variants are less attractive. Boy, like, yeah, dude. Looks great on all sorts of camos. Gets great camos to begin with. But I guess this part is a little bit smaller. I'm gonna put 2000 just a bit ahead of it. I also have a personal bias of a 2000. If we're going to such a small difference between stuff, I'm gonna have to have a little bit of bias to separate things. F-18 looks pretty good. Oof. Is it S tier dough? Just gotta definitely look at the edges of stuff and consider whether they're worth bumping or lowering a tier. It might just be, honestly. It is looking pretty, dude. I think it's S tier. Yeah, that's gotta be S tier. That's so pretty, dude. If there is a stealth aircraft in S tier, it might be the J-20. I think that might stay there. Okay. Yeah, last 2 minutes of the stream, we're just gonna do some sorting. Um, oh my god. Okay. These might have to be the D tier. They are kind of fugly. I think I can move this down here. They're kind of underwhelming. The Hawk, yeah, I know Hawk is kind of underwhelming. It doesn't really do anything too exceptional. SU-17 also is good down there. I can't put the A-10 Lord in B. Probably feels like the Cheetah and T2 are a little bit too high. J-20. God damn, it's hard to say. It's not S tier though. It's pretty good. Look at the J-20S with the double cockpit. Woo wee, dude. Wowza. Like showing us. Yeah, that's S. If we're going off the J-20S, like the best variant, God, that's an easy S tier. I feel like I can't put that S57 in S tier just because the camo does so much heavy lifting. Like, it's already beautiful enough, but the camo is so perfect for it. Well, I say so much heavy lifting. It does a good amount of lifting. Gripping. Oh, man. He keeps meowing. Oh my god. Get a fucking... Take a hike, bro. God, I'm gonna leave you outside and let you figure things out. Oh, man. Needy. Like I'm trying to focus in my ADD. It's just too much, dude. Okay. Tornado's so good in formation flights. Dude, he keeps meowing. It's crazy. It's honestly insane. Yeah, I mean, it's international. It is a bit too generic. I should probably lower it. Like, oh, it would do so much carrying if I had the leading slides, man. Yeah, it is a bit generic. I feel like I can't, in good consciousness, have it that high. Just because I really like it, but. Bro, he's still on my door like this. Guy. What the heck is wrong with you? I'm clearly annoyed with you. Like, god damn, dude. Is this what it's like to be stalked by somebody? Insane, insane, bro. Why can't I just have a 3 hour stream in peace? This is the most I have to focus to in this little shit. 27. Yeah, I have to lower it a little. Good fear is nice. It is nice. Like, look at that. That is nice, I have to say. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, JH7 is a little absurd. Q5 maybe doesn't need to be that high. But it's pretty damn nice. Fall is good. A tier. In between the F111 and the SC24. Oh my god. I'm going to lock this cat up. So okay, I vacated him, but he will probably come back somehow. Ay, ay, ay. Spoiled, I tell you. I'm trying to wrap this up so I can save this and send this places. And I'll be like, damn, I regret putting this there. Ooh, Jesus. As we, 18 could go down the C tier. It could. Oof. SU30. SU34 is definitely prettier than SU30. Vegan. Nothing's going wrong with it. 25 doesn't have anything going wrong with it. It's just kind of boring. Really long. Might be fine to stay there. SU25 is also pretty generic. Jaguars. more personality, but so many things have been derived from it and do the same thing better. The JA is really long, boy. It's cool, but it's like, I don't know. I'm actually put the SC25 lower, honestly. A23 is nice. Where's F1? A21 is decent. I think I like the JF17 more. Yeah, JF17 does look pretty neat. It's that DNA that works. A21 depends so much on the variant. And even its better variants look generic, and the worst variants look more unique. So AV8. Yeah. Is the A10 not C tier fair? Those look pretty cool. Especially with the gear. Yeah, I just don't really like the straight wings, but it makes sense for what it's used for. The turbofans look goofy. They could have been put within this little armpit right here. Look better that way, probably. Yeah, honestly, it's like king of C tier. The AV8. AV8B looks pretty badass. Again, absolutely massive intakes. Some of the variants are ugly looking. The wings are pretty small too. I guess they aren't that bad. I like the leading edges, but they're implemented pretty awkwardly. Definitely one of the worst implementation of leading edges. Those intakes are really honestly hideous. The engines are ugly too. Yeah, I think I would put that just above that. I think this would be a fair spot. A6 looks fucking dorky. I think that might be fine to have the A6 down there. It's kind of fugly. I like the 8 Tejas a little bit more than J10 is a little bit more. It's close enough to Mirage 2000 in looks. It's a very confused aircraft. I'd probably put it over the Yak 30, honestly. And the F1 of War. Super. Yeah, that's fine. Hawk. Ooh. I mean, Hawk doesn't have too much bad stuff going on, but Tejas looks so cool from some images. Oh, hi, Silver Blade. I'm about to end the stream. I'm finalizing my tier list. I'll upload a video probably, hopefully this month, but knowing me, it'll be next year. Yeah, I have to condense a 3-hour stream into a short video. Should be pretty easy though. Honestly, actually shouldn't be that hard to edit. I've already have all these images on my computer since I saved them so I can make this damn tier list. I'm gonna go through it one more time. It is 3 hours, but I want to go through real quick. I like Rush 2000 more than MiG-29 by a little bit. I like MiG-29 a little bit more than F-14. F-14 a little more than F-18. Oh, F-18 a little more than the J-20. The J-20 is like the nicest, depending on the variant. It is the nicest stealth aircraft. I think I prefer that C-57 and an F-22 over the A variant, but the B variant I prefer over maybe the B variant. I still pretty good, but maybe not over these. And the S variant with the double cockpit is so gorgeous. Definitely that version at least puts it above it, and it has the most personality. Like, this is the most unique looking. There aren't really, I don't think there's, still to this day, I don't think there are any stealth aircraft with canards yet. at least produced, like made. Um, there are more J20s and F22s and SU57s combined, I think, which is kind of crazy considering it's newer than both. I think, especially the F22, it's newer than that, but I think it's newer than SU57 as well by a few years. S16 is really nice. Oh, what the heck? Something happened. Oh, thanks for the follow. Holy crap. I was like, wait a minute. Holy shit. I forgot people can do that. Following, their favorite creators. That's crazy. F16. It's kind of overrated, but at the same time, I understand why it's overrated. Do I like it more than the Griffin? Honestly, I feel like the Griffin has a little bit more personality, a little more going on. But the S16 is definitely smoother. S16 is like less flaws. But the Griffin does the canard thing really well with the vehicle itself. Canard thing with I think it has the nicest looking canards. Like sure, like the canards are separated a little bit like the other versions, but it seems it doesn't look like it wants to be as seamless, and it's also bigger than something like an SU30's canards. SU30 canards look a little weird. It does look good, especially with the right camo. I think it's fine to put over that 16. Tornado is so beautiful in squad photos. It's grown on me a lot over the years. F4 is pretty. Yeah, a Yak 130 is like over the F4 just a little. Maybe. It's gorgeous. I think it's like a proper modernized redesign of the F4 would be nice. No, I'm not part of the military. I'm just a enthusiast. Like I would say, I mean, it's War Thunder is. I guess my experience with military aircraft is mostly through War Thunder, which is my most played game by a lot. So I would say really getting to know the community through War Thunder and getting to know the aircraft through War Thunder, using War Thunder as like a catalyst for learning and research has been really useful. Recently started watching a lot of like DCS videos and watching videos of pilots getting into DCS and how they think of that stuff. It's really fun. It's really just an endless well of information. But I don't think I have any. I think the only one in my family, like within my family, closest family, with any aircraft time is like my great grandpa was like part of a like either a B-17, a B-24, or a B-20. I don't think it was a B-25, but maybe like a B-26. He was a bombardier for one of those, but I don't have any actual like, yeah, experience. I wouldn't be able to be a pilot. I don't have, even if I were to go down that route, I wouldn't be able to get to that because they have high standards. Even though they're on the decline and they drastically need pilots, they still have really tighter than ever nonsense to become a pilot, which is just absurd. Super high, American military has super high standards, even when they are hemorrhaging from it. SU-27 does look really good. SU-35, SU-27 has like quite a bit of personality. It's hard to say I dislike the SU-27 when I like the MiG-29. Like they're close enough in design philosophy, so I definitely have to put it pretty high. It doesn't try any weird canard stuff. I usually like canards, but I think it's implemented a little awkwardly on the variants. I think it works really well in SU-34 because SU-34 tries to be something new. It's more bulky and whatnot. It looks really cool on that thing. F-35 I think is underrated. But nowadays there's people who are like F-35 fanboys. But I still think the design is pretty nice. It's refreshing having a single engine stealth aircraft. Because before it was just F-22. and then the SC-57 and the F-35 kind of propped up around the same time. I think the J-28 propped up a little after, but yeah, it's still the only one in production. So yeah, in the tier list, these are my favorite S tier. I like the Mirage 2000 the most. It's so gorgeous. It's a Delta Wing aircraft. I say it's the best thing to come out of France. Very nice. I can show you real quick. This just has the perfect design philosophy of a Delta engine, a Delta Wing aircraft, single engine. It just looks so cool, and it's been used in multiple militaries. Kind of outdated, but still being used. It's a pretty decent missile platform. It's good at dogfighting, but doesn't have the best energy because its engine is really strong, but it's not strong enough for the Delta design to fight everything in dogfights. And you're not really gonna do dogfights much. But yeah, the later versions do have really good engines. It's kind of how the Rafale is more multi-role. This is more of a interceptor for France. And then the MiG-29 I really like as well. It has really nice double cockpit versions, just like the Mirage 2000. It looks perfect, like the perfect villain. It's like the bad guy, and it plays that role really well. It's not oversized or over convoluted like the Su-27 is a bit. It stays in its lane, but it doesn't stay like super conventional, despite being pretty conventional in concept. And then F-14 is beautiful. Used to not like it that much, but I like it a lot now. It looks great when the wings are pulled back like that. A lot of surface area, but even then it doesn't look boring. Like it has a lot of surface area, but feels like there's purpose there. Unlike the MiG-25. Looks great on a carrier. But yeah, I don't want to go over that too long because I did talk about it earlier. These are obviously only including like fighters, multi-role, and strike, interceptor, all that kind of stuff. It's not including like bombers or cargo or airliners or transport. It's not including older aircraft either. I'll probably do a tier list with that kind of stuff. But yeah. But I would still say these are my favorite aircraft because I'm generally more interested in this kind of stuff over cargo and whatnot. But I do like the other stuff as well. I would say, yeah, F-15's a bit generic, but looks still pretty damn good. Kfir looks really good with the canards. F1 looks really long. Boy, I need to look at the F-850 again. I feel like I'm overrating it, but it does look really damn good, not gonna lie. The cockpit's a little wumpy, that's why I didn't really like it too much. It kind of is a bit too big. Yeah, it's a huge cockpit area, but it does look really good. They're all neck and neck. I think I would have to put it above that. Yeah. Alpha Jet. Alpha Jet is kind of... Looked at it very recently, but I need to look yet again. I don't like how small the nozzles are here. It does have the cool engine down thingy. No leading edge. The weird Mirage 2000 cockpit thing going on here. 2000D. It's not that weird, but it would look better if it was just straight on instead of both. But it's not that big of a deal. I don't really like the pointier nose much either. JH7. Let me see if it's better. See if I like it more than JH7. JH7 is kind of generic. Yeah, I definitely like it more than JH7. It's just huge, but it's like, I feel like the T2 has a bit more personality. This one is like a T2, but looks like a fly. Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, it is kind of dainty little trainer aircraft, but it is used in combat a few times. Oh, this is really cool, but it doesn't. It's not quite. It's a little bit too conventional. But I do like it a lot. I should put it back here. I think I like the Q5 more. The Q5 has like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of traditional, but it has a little bit more personality, especially from the back. If I can get a look at it from behind. Yes, little rear part looks cool. Yeah, it's pretty damn sleek. F-111 is nice. Maybe it's too high though. I wish I had two rudders, stabilizers, whatever. A little weird looking over here. I actually like the SU-24 more, not gonna lie. I like this thing with its wings out more than SU-24, but wings in, I like the other one, I think, a little more. Yeah, it's just a cockpit area and this little... like, there's different SU-24 variants, too. Yeah, some that do have that leading edge. Where is it? Oh, no, yeah, that's the thing. This is so cool. I do like the front part area more, though. That's why I have this higher, I'm thinking. They're so neck and neck, though. I can't, like... Yeah, these are nicer camos. Yeah, these look scary from a distance. Do I really like the GH7? Not much more, though. I think I might have to put it back here, honestly. It's still beautiful, but is it really that much better? I think I'll keep it like that. This looks pretty good to me. Fall. Interesting. I could do the Rafale. Rafale would have to be either here or here. There's no... Yeah, I would put it here. I think I like the SC-34 more. It has a little bit more personality. It's a little bit more unique. Even though it's a variant of a vehicle, of a jet that has too many variants. I do think it's a little nicer looking. Maybe. It's hard to tell. They're definitely neck and neck. I definitely feel good about that. Rafale just looks kind of weird, especially with the double cockpit version. But from in front, I don't really like that part. Yeah, I think I like the SC-34 more, definitely. Do I like the GH7 more than the SC-30? Yeah, it just kind of annoys me. It's small here, but it's also like looks like an armpit. The SC-34 definitely does it better. It has a little bit more personality. It looks more natural, I should say. I've said that personality thing so much more. I'll probably not include this part in the video. I'll probably keep it. I'll probably record like an outro where I say, oh, I changed a few things and whatnot. Yeah, so I'll probably cut out the last 30 minutes. Still does look cool, don't get me wrong, especially from afar. Yeah, J7 does look sleek though. I can't put in. I could put in B. Let's see, MiG-21. 21. That does look pretty cool. But it's kind of unremarkable in some ways. Still cool though. It's also a canard or a delta where the delta's in the middle and then it has wings back here instead of the Delta being in the very back. It does look pretty. Although I think there's a Delta version with it in the back. Looks kind of like a Draken or some Maybe 21 does look cool. I like how small it is too. It's pretty petite. I think I have to keep it in B. It's still a dope looking aircraft. I like how big it is. Yeah, I definitely can keep that there. I like it more than a J8. J8B. J8B does look good. But yeah, I do agree that is like kind of small wings compared to it, and it's a little bit too long. Definitely does look like an interceptor, which it is. Just have that F104 hot rod look. It definitely is better than F104 visually to me by quite a bit. Yeah, I think we're really cooking here, bro. Yeah, I said I like the Vegan more than the MiG-25 because the MiG-25 is a little generic, kind of like the JH-7, but the JH-7 is super clean. The MiG-25 is like super barren. Unlike the F-14, which, there's a lot of open space, sure, but it looks purposeful. MiG-25 has stuff going on, but it still looks a little too long, a little lacking. There's not much going on here. The spine's a little boring. It's not that interestingly done. There's a lot of empty space here. It is still badass, don't get me wrong. But yeah, B tier is pretty fitting. B for badass. I do like it a little more than the Typhoon. Typhoon's goofy awe. I think I like the Jaguar more than the Typhoon though. Yeah, I like the Jaguar more than the Typhoon. I cannot put the Typhoon below the SU-25. J8 still looks pretty badass. Yeah. SU-25 is just kind of boring, but still dope. MiG-23. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to have them right here. F1 is so like unremarkable, but still very clean. It has a JH7 vibe, except the JH7 is definitely uh more interesting. Doesn't that nose design make it less effective or efficient? On the MiG-25? Wait, which one? I know I skimmed through a lot recently. Because I could probably tell you a pretty accurate answer. Hopefully you can read this. Whoa. That's zoomed in, all right. I should have kept it like this. That's good. Ooh. I should have kept it like this the whole time. So I think a lot of these noses are relatively efficient. I mean, they're all like pretty generally the same shape too. Uh, which one? This one? This little guy? You should be able to read these, but I don't know if you can see all of them. That's the difference. You can see some of the noses, some of them you can't. The J8. Hmm. No, it's pretty efficient actually. It's a big schnoz, but um it's not causing much issue. Like the air will oh. Oh, the MiG-21. This one should be able to, you should be able to name it. This is the MiG-21. This is the JH. That's the J8. Oh, okay. So no, that because it's a okay, yeah, that's a good thing to bring up. I want to give you some lore. So this is an air intake, but this creates some really complex air stuff. This is the first ramjet in ramjet engine intake mounted on a fighter jet. Now you might be wondering why it looks familiar. This is the fastest aircraft ever built at the time of its flight, and for quite a while afterwards. So saying it's inefficient should become very obvious that it's actually the opposite. So I'm assuming what you heard of is it's very efficient, and you probably thought they meant inefficient. At high altitudes, it's one of the most efficient intake. It's like the most efficient intake, period, or at least for the common fighter jet design, jet engine design going on. So what it does is it compresses a lot of air. It stays open like here at low altitude because it wants to get as much air as possible. But at high altitude, it slowly pushes out, I believe, quite substantially, to where it kind of chokes the engine, I believe. I don't remember the exact physics behind it, but basically compresses the air so it just, I think it's super high pressure. It turns to really low air pressure and it collects it all, and it turns into high pressure as it shoots right through the nose, as it catches it. It would stay pretty open otherwise because it's trying to suck in as much dense low altitude air as possible. But high altitudes, it really has to make that air suck in like a straw. And so it would, because it's super pointed, it brings in a lot. This aircraft may not have the highest top speed at high altitude, although it has a very, very fantastic, for an airliner at low speeds, this would not be good. You don't want an exact spike. There's a reason why a lot of airliners don't have spikes. They have a very rounded nose. But high altitude, you just want to drive that shit in as straightforward as possible. You just want it to be as consistent, just a smooth angle, a single angle throughout the entire thing. Like a fucking cone, literally. But yeah, I don't even remember what I was saying. The big problem with this is you can't really fit a radar here. It's hard to fit a radar into this cone. So that's why the MiG-21 never mounted that much radar missiles. Most of the variants never even had them to begin with. You might be thinking, put the radar on the missile. That's what Fox 3 is. But a tiny radar on the missile can only do so much. You still want to have a really strong radar on the aircraft so it can catch them far out and guide the missile in. And then once the missile is close enough, the missile can do the rest of it itself. Otherwise, if you have a shitty radar and you have the missiles to do radar stuff on their own, you'll have significantly less range still, regardless, even though they have their own. That's one of the big drawbacks, and the reason why you don't see ramjet engines on things often, and you also don't see much combat that high up anyways. But, oh yeah, I was saying it has a really high speed, but it's not the highest. Like, there's still plenty, there's like 10 other aircraft that fighter aircraft that have a higher top speed altitude. But this thing will have one of the most efficient fuel, if not the most efficient fuel count of any production fighter aircraft. Now, obviously, that's SR-71. It's not a production aircraft. It's a test bed, basically, for NASA and whatnot, for CIA and to spy and shit. But it would accelerate fast as well, too, because the engine is just able to suck in as much as possible to do its work. It would have to fight less, which is why it uses less fuel and whatnot. So no, it's actually extremely efficient at high altitude. It's maybe not that efficient at low altitude, but the engine itself on the aircraft isn't really that hungry to begin with, so it's not that big of a deal anyways. But with airliners, you want it to be pretty big because all your engines are, you don't have intakes on your fuselage. You have turbofans on the end of your aircraft. Well, the fastest aircraft's not really an opinion thing, unless you mean like overall, but like there are factually fastest aircraft. Like you can just look up. Fastest plane in the world is some fucking crazy There's like specific test things, but I guess for fighter aircraft, on average, like throughout like the average course of its combat action, honestly, we can still probably go down this list, and we'll just find something that looks like it knows. Looks like it's it tells us the aircraft here. Tell us the date. Okay. What? Uh, I guess they aren't really going after records in this decade. Yeah, SR-71. I guess in current use, the speed isn't the most important thing. It's the radar and the range. Uh, Honestly, like the ones in combat. Wait, why does that say MiG 31? That's clearly not a MiG 31. What the fuck? That's an SR-71. What the fuck? Dude, at least try. I would just say it's probably the MiG 31. Just because they're flying this thing because they specifically to go fast. Like they're going to. Oh, it's fine. You can go sleep. I'm about to end this. But basically, their main goal with this thing is to fly fast and shit. Like especially MiG 25. Whereas the other aircraft are not going to fly that fast unless they really need to. But these guys are in combat are gonna pursue that more often. But yeah, I can finish the tier list real quick. Hopefully, you get some good sleep, unlike me, who's been suffering. And I can wrap this thing up real soon because I wasn't expecting visitors. MiG 21. I probably won't do a stream for a while. It's gonna take me a bit to do a stream. Another stream. I might do that Minecraft stream. I've been kind of putting it off though because I've been feeling I play Minecraft. Building stream. But I might come back with another tier list stream. We'll see. Anyways, to wrap things up, AV8P. Kind of. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, JF17 is pretty cool looking. But it's a little confused. I think I would still put it above the Orange F1. I like the F1, but it's JF17 is at least unique. I might put this above there. Because SC25 is cool, but it's not too much going on with it. It kind of looks like a trainer aircraft, honestly. AV8B looks pretty cool, but the massive intakes are kind of ugly. I think these are fine down here. So 17, Tejas. I can't put it that high. It looks cool from some angles, and it looks dumb in others. F104 looks great with the double cockpit. Otherwise, it's not too interesting. The double cockpit does keep it up, and it does look cool with fuel tanks sometimes, or certain missiles. The Yak-38 looks a little goofy, but also badass at the same time. J10, so close to success yet so far. But it might go up. Honestly, I think these things kind of meh. So at least this looks kind of cool and heavy, you know. J10 might look better than Tejas. Yeah, I would say they're definitely neck and neck. Super Atendar. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much wrong with this. It's just a little odd. Oddball. Yeah, that's pretty fair. A6. Would this go into D tier? No, not quite. It's barely. Wrong one. I do like the 38 quite a bit, actually. It is pretty ugly, honestly. But it does look cool on carriers. I think it's fair with that. They're almost done. A6 is so fucking fat though, not gonna lie. Bro. Yeah. I don't think I could put the Yak 38 that much lower than the F104. I think I would be doing it disjustice considering they're both very similar. I don't dislike them. These I would say I dislike. These I don't like or dislike that much. I'd say I lean towards liking all of these. These I kind of don't like, honestly. Like A6 I'm pretty indifferent to, but I actually don't like the look of this MB339 just because the engine thing's so tiny and weird. It's like just a failure of a trainer. And FCK is just the most confused freaking thing ever, honestly. Uh, this would look so good otherwise, but it kind of gorpy, dude. He's definitely the king of D tier. Those look kind of cool, and I don't dislike it. It does. I do like it sometimes. Mm, God, it's so fucking hard to place these, man. It's so fucking hard. Oh, it's so hard. I said these are like 3 out of 10. Like, um, it's tempting to put this in. Either move this to C tier or move this to D tier. Like these are both like pretty neck and neck. I think this has a little bit more purpose, and this one's just kind of fucking. Yeah, it's a little bit more unique. This is a little bit generic everywhere else. Like the rest of the aircraft is, it's a plane, and then the front is just like whoomp. A7 kind of has that vibe as well, but it does fit that aesthetic for the Vietnam War and whatnot much better, and it looks better on a carrier. It's less of a less bizarre. And this isn't too bad. I can't really hate on this thing, but I feel like I just can't bring in good faith higher. A6. Yeah, it's a weirdo. Yeah, it's definitely these two are pretty low on that shit. Definitely low. Yeah, that looks just dumb. The rest of it like was weird. And it's straight wing. I mean, it looks kind of neat here, but it doesn't know what it wants to do. Like, do you want to be an alpha jet? What do you want to be, dude? I can put that down there. Yeah, because at least the F104 looks like it's meant to go fast. Like, this guy's a speeding fucking bullet. And it does look cool depending on the variants. Like, actually cool. The Yak 38 has no variants that make it look really any substantially better. Seeing Ellie's looks like a star. Yeah, okay, I think that's fair. Um, yeah, that's what FCK1. It's just a very confused mess. Like the JF17 does it better. The J10 does it better somehow. Some angles I'm like, that's nice, and others I'm just like, what the fuck were you trying? What were you trying? I feel like I have to raise it higher though. Like, come on. It does look a little cooler when I use the others for comparison. Yeah, none of them are ugly. None of them I dislike actively, but these are like, come on, man. Did you even try? I think this is it though. I think this is what we're gonna call it at. Additional, okay. Wait, is it not this? Hold up. I haven't used this stinking thing before, so I don't know exactly how it saves, but okay, fuck it. Oh, it stays. That's pretty cool. Okay. Hmm. Okay. There we go. Hmm. Let me. Interesting. I'm just gonna look at something and see how the link is. Create Android versions tier list categories list. Dude, what am I? What is this nonsense? Yes, create. Yes, I want it to be created. Create it. Oh, it wants me to create. Dude, okay. I'm gonna go to my account. Created templates, latest tier list. If I go to templates. Okay. All right, boys. That's the tier list. All right. This is way too long. I wish I didn't string this long. I don't think I'm going to rate anyone, honestly. I will check, though. But yeah, we don't have any viewers really, so I don't have to worry about any of that. just want to see who's online. No one I really recognize. No, there's someone, but yeah. Alright, that's fun. I'm sorry it took way longer. I didn't expect a person to join in, and I wanted to make sure they knew what was going on and answered their questions. And I wanted to make sure, if that cat didn't bother me so much, I could have focused on nailing this. But it's done. I finally have it done. I'll cut out the last hour entirely, and I'll just show what it looks like. I could actually do a bit of an outro right now. We'll see. Alright, so as you can tell, this is my tier list. S tier is the gorgeous aircraft, the beautiful, the Mirage 2000, MiG-29, F-14, etc. These are the aircraft I love, and I think will probably stay in S tier for a while. And then in A tier is where the majority of aircraft are, because I think most aircraft are beautiful. These are the pretty good looking aircraft. Like, these are some nice looking planes, but they're not quite the creme de la creme. Now these will probably change quite a bit in certain areas. Some of them might not stay in A tier. Some of them might even maybe get moved up in S tier whenever I eventually maybe revisit this tier list. Maybe I'll remove some of these and add some more. Maybe I'll implement different kinds of aircraft. Maybe I'll do a tank tier list. B tier is stuff that's like pretty good. I quite like it. It's decent, but it's like, it's nothing to write home to mom about, but it's nice. It serves a purpose. Maybe there's some significant flaws, or they're kind of boring, but they have enough charm, or they have enough things going right for them. Something, it works out. It's pretty solid. Then there's C tier, which is pretty underwhelming. I don't entirely, I'm kind of on the edge. I don't like some of these. Some of these I do quite like, but I don't like them enough. But I definitely don't dislike any of these. I would say actually kind of, I like a lot of these in some regards visually. But D tier is like, I don't really like how it looks, or I don't think it's, yeah, it's kind of ugly. Maybe I don't dislike it exactly. Some of it I do kind of dislike, but maybe there's just so much wrong going on, or they missed the ball. It's just not quite good enough. So something like the Yak 38 is something I really struggled to pick whether to choose between C or D tier. Ultimately, it kind of sits in that range. But none of these aircraft I hate the look of. Yeah, like, this is I'm pretty happy with this tier list so far. There's a bunch of things I'm still iffy on. Ultimately, I could ship this off, and I'm quite curious to see how it'll look when I revisit it. Maybe some of these vehicles will be added to War Thunder, so I can more accurately give out an opinion of how I feel playing the vehicle, playing against the vehicle, and seeing it from different angles and ranges, and maybe seeing it from inside the cockpit. Different things, get a better feel for it. Things like the F-18 and Rafale, they might move once I start. Well, F-18 will probably stay in S tier, but it might go down to A tier. Who knows? Rafale could go higher or lower, but most likely higher once I get access to it in War Thunder. MiG-25 would most likely go higher once I get access to it in War Thunder. That's the one I'm expecting will rise the most. It's a little generic, but it's badass. It has a quite the mean mug to it. Things like the A-10 I love in spirit, but it's ugly. It's a badass kind of ugly, but it is ugly in a way that's much more charming than something like a Yak 38. Has a lot more going for it, at least in its ugliness. And then the J-10 is confusing. But yeah, that's like my general vibe check of why some of these things are in certain places or where I think things will head out. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do stream sometimes on Twitch. I hope to move out eventually and be able to stream more often. And maybe when I revisit this, it'll be a more engaging stream. Maybe I'll have a stream where chat decides. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But thanks for watching. Subscribe, hit the like button, comment, hit the bell. All that stuff actually does help a lot of people. It's important. Share this video to people who are interested in this stuff. Don't share it to people who aren't interested in this stuff, because they don't really care about some random guy's opinion on something they're not really interested in the first place. But yeah, all this is just based strictly on looks. None of this is like based on their history or their effectiveness in combat. None of that. A lot of that is more up in the air. At least based on looks, I can focus on one thing. So yeah, I think I'm more likely to do a tank tier list than revisit this tier list or have a tier list incorporating other aircraft from a certain generation or different types of aircraft like bombers and cargo planes and airliners and whatnot. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace. Peace. Goodbye. Go. Shoo. Go fucking leave. Get out of here. Weirdo.